The Fourth Shinobi War is over, but what a lot of work it cost the United Shinobi Alliance. Every village suffered huge losses. But probably the biggest losses fell on Naruto Uzumaki. After all, he lost not only close friends, such as Sai, Ino, Shino, Captain Yamato, but also a loved one. No one knew, but Naruto was in love with Uchiha Sasuke. And the one who killed him was the blonde himself. The help in the war was just a cover, because Uchiha decided to capture the Tailed Ones and destroy Konoha with their help. He managed to subdue and imprison the Tailed Ones with the help of Chibaku Tensei and moved to the Valley of Completion. However, his further plans were not destined to come true. Naruto interrupted him. Using Hiraishin, he managed to catch up with the brunette, because he knew exactly where he would move. What an irony, once upon a time their path of becoming the strongest ninjas began at this place, and here everything will end for one of them. Sasuke. Please come to your senses, do not destroy Konoha. You can't fix anything with this. Besides, Itachi wanted to protect the village, and you're trying to destroy what he sacrificed his life for. Naruto shouted, trying to reason with his lover, because he did not want to cause him any harm, and the thought that he would have to fight with Sasuke, and perhaps even kill him, tore his heart. You won't understand, Naruto, it's because of Itachi and what he had to go through because of this damned village that I will destroy it. And without saying another word, he attacked Naruto. The battle was fierce, because Sasuke really wanted to kill Naruto, unlike the blonde, who just wanted to stop and reason with an old friend. They used all their strongest techniques. Naruto even had to use Sage Mode, and at some point Sasuke started to give in. At that moment Naruto decided to use Rasengan, and his opponent Chidori, but at the very last moment Sasuke took out his Kusanagi katana and chopped off Naruto's hand. Sasuke also enjoyed inflicting injuries on the blonde, and when he cut off his hand, a satisfied grin was reflected on his face. He hated Naruto with all his heart, because, as he believed, everything was easy for him. Uchiha hated Uzumaki for the power he takes from nowhere. And even now, when he has received the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan, Naruto is not inferior to him and pushes him in places. And now, when Uzumaki will no longer be able to create techniques, Uchiha will have fun killing the blonde. Well, that's it, Naruto, Sasuke said with a grin, you can't fold seals anymore. And that means I won. And now I will kill you, and then I will destroy Konoha. And no one can stop me anymore. And he laughed. The one who rarely even had a smile, now just laughs. Someone might think that this is a joyful laugh, and in part they will be right. After all, Uchiha was glad that he could finally kill the hated blonde, and at that moment, something flashed across Uchiha's face that Naruto realized he couldn't save Sasuke from this hatred. And then he decided to take the last step, which he did not want to take under any circumstances. Uzumaki sees Sasuke firing Nagashi Chidori at Kusanagi, and he takes out a special kunai himself, blowing the wind chakra on it. Uchiha sees that Uzumaki is not going to give up, and he still has a trump card up his sleeve. This makes the red-eyed man incredibly angry, but he is completely confident in his victory and does not notice how Naruto's eyes are filled with tears. It's over, Naruto. Sasuke shouts and raises his hand to deliver the last fatal blow. Yes, it's over, Naruto whispers softly and abruptly, without giving himself a chance to change his mind, sends one of the balls to Sasuke with such force that it knocks Kusanagi out of his hands. And he turns the second ball into a spear and punches the Uchiha's body through. The last thing Sasuke hears were Naruto's words, "Goodbye, Sasuke. Sleep well, my beloved," Uzumaki said sadly, no longer holding back tears. When Kakashi and Sakura finally came running, the following picture appeared: a bloody, almost dying Naruto is holding in his arms, Sasuke's already cooling corpse is on his hand. The last thing Uzumaki remembered was Sakura, who summoned Katsuya and soon began to pull him out of the other world. When the blue-eyed man woke up, he did not immediately realize where he was. White ceiling, white walls, single bed. Yeah, it's clear, he's in the hospital, and a tired Sakura is sleeping on a chair next to him, dropping her head on the bed. How long did he sleep? Naruto smiled weakly and patted his girlfriend on the head. Haruno fidgeted in her sleep, not hurrying to wake up, but still opened her green eyes, not really understanding what had woken her up. But when she came across funny blue eyes, she immediately rushed with hugs and tears to the blonde. Sorry Sakura, I couldn't stop him. Naruto said softly, calming the girl. No, it's not your fault, Naruto. Probably no one could have stopped him this time. I understand that this was the only way. Thank you, you protected the village, Sakura said sadly, looking sadly at the severed arm of the blonde. She understood that maybe he wouldn't be a shinobi anymore. I'm so glad that you woke up, and again rushed to hug Uzumaki. In this position, they were found by Tsunade, who came to check the patient's condition. I see you've already come to your senses, Naruto. I am very happy. How are you doing? Thanks. Everything is fine, the blonde man smiled weakly. After they talked a little more, and then Tsunade left, taking Sakura with her to check on other patients. The next guest was Kakashi. Many more people came to him, but the most unexpected guest was Orochimaru. He brought with him a bunch of some tools and began to conduct some tests, with the consent of the blonde himself. As this snake said, it is necessary for Naruto himself, but he did not explain anything much. Here's a filthy snake, did what he wanted, and went home with a satisfied smile, without saying anything, Naruto thought, lying in bed. Although he was tormented by ignorance for a short time. After a few days, this snake appeared again and said that he would be able to make Naruto a new hand. But it will take at least 6 months to create it. After all, because of kurama, not every DNA will take root, and therefore it is necessary to calculate everything. Naruto was glad, because it meant that he could continue to be a shinobi, and so his days passed in the hospital, tests, rest, tests and more tests. Until one day a cunningly smiling Tsunade looked in on him. You know, Naruto, even though you can't do anything right now, but that doesn't mean I'll let you do nothing. Besides, you're the only genin left. Therefore, from today we will prepare you to become a jounin. And for this you need to learn. And with these words of hers, several people entered the room, including Kakashi, who were carrying simply unimaginable stacks of papers. From all this amount that he has to learn, Uzumaki's eyes just popped out. Besides, the future Hokage cannot remain a fool. Hokage, yes, Naruto said sadly, looking at the faces on the mountain. You know, Bachan, I wanted to become a Hokage so that the inhabitants would recognize me. But now everyone recognizes me anyway, even without a position. And I realized that I no longer aspire to take this place, that I dream of protecting Konoha, and for this I want to become an ANBU, and achieve the rank of captain. Here's my new goal, the blonde man said cheerfully, but I agree to study, and Kurama insists. He says he's already got a full Jinchuriki. With these words, the infernal training of Uzumaki began, and in the literal sense. Tsunade, Kakashi and Kurama took it seriously. He didn't even have a free minute to meet his friends. In addition, because of the power of the sage, Naruto asked Tsunade and Orochimaru to teach him Iron Jutsu. He was trained in espionage, rhetoric, the art of combat, disguise, medicine and a bunch of other things that can be useful to him in the NSA. And in order to do everything in time, he needed clones. And for this I had to learn how to fold seals with one hand. So half a year flew by, during which Naruto mastered everything and even became a Tsunade-level medic. The operation to engraft the arm took a long time, but successfully. And now our blonde is a full-fledged shinobi again. It's time to start serving in the ANBU. But before that, he begged the new Hokage Kakashi for a 2-month vacation. He wanted to get into the ruins of Uzushio and look for some information about his clan. By the way, I forgot to say, during my training, Uzumaki often began to help the Slug Princess with the work of Hokage, because Shizune also died in the war. He was busy with paperwork and often delivered Tsunade home when she passed out at the table. They became so close during their work that they became a real family. Tsunade accepted that she was called Bachan, that she herself began to call Naruto Meigo, grandson. Therefore, even when Hokage became Kakashi, Naruto continued to look after Tsunade, and over time they began to live together. But back to Uzushio. Here in the ruins of the Uzukage estate, he found a secret archive with a bunch of scrolls on fuin and techniques. And of course Kurama made them all learn, and he himself was not averse to learning something new. So 2 months flew by while studying. When they were returning home, Naruto felt some familiar energy that simply attracted him to a small temple near the ruins. When he stretched out his hand to the temple, the invisible barrier was cut off with the power of the sage and opened a small passage that descended deep underground. At the end of the corridor there was a spacious room with a bunch of S and S+ rank protective seals, and some Naruto didn't even know. Apparently they were from the time of Kaguya, when the Uzumaki clan did not exist yet. There was only an altar with a single scroll in this room. Coming closer and opening the scroll, Naruto was very surprised, because the scroll was empty. What can it mean? I don't understand. Couldn't the Uzumaki have built such a protected temple for the sake of an empty scroll? Or maybe the scroll has been stolen for a long time, and this is a fake. Don't be stupid, Uzumaki, the fox growled, getting out of the seal and taking the form of a fox cub. It's impossible to get into this temple just like that. There must be something else here. Try a drop of blood, maybe it will work on the Uzumaki gene in it. I'll try, Naruto said, cutting his finger. Nothing happened. Uzumaki suddenly fell to the floor, and Kurama was running around, not understanding what was happening. And at this time, Naruto heard a voice in his head. Greetings to you, the one in whom my blood flows. My name is Kagetsuchi, the demon that gave birth to the Uzumaki clan. The child that is closest according to my strength, I will grant you my strength. That. Naruto. You're finally awake. What happened, Kurama? Naruto sighed wearily. Don't scream, please, my head is just splitting. I'll explain now. This scroll contained the will of Kagetsuchi. A fire demon? Yes, him, and don't interrupt me, sorry. So, as he said, the Uzumaki clan came from him, that's why they called us the red-haired demons. And since my power is closest to his, probably because of your chakra, he gave me many fire techniques and some special power. It is difficult to attribute it to Kekei Genkai, but it does not apply to spontaneous techniques either. This power is based on sound and is tied to fuin. It allows you to find specially hidden seals of any complexity with the help of special songs, as well as destroy them, even seals of the S+++ class. Ahead of your question, you heard right, I said songs. It's hard to explain, somehow I'll show it to you, and now let's go home. It has been several years since the recent events. Most of Naruto's friends have already got families, and our hero has risen to the rank of captain of the ANBU, although he remained lonely. He has changed, he has become more silent, collected, calm, you can even say cold, but with friends he is still cheerful and optimistic. Many thought that it was because of the work in the ANBU, and it's time to grow up. But only one person knew why such changes had happened to him. Flashback. Hey, Naruto, come here, there's a conversation, shouted Tsunade, sipping sake in the living room. Yes, Bachan, is something wrong? Entering the room, Naruto asked with a smile. Not really. Look, I don't want to push, but you're already 20, and you're still single. All your friends have already got families, someone already has a child, and someone has two. Don't you think it's time for you to think about it? Maybe I want to babysit the kids too. The smile immediately disappeared from the blonde's face and he even turned slightly white. Uzumaki sat down heavily in front of Tsunade and quietly replied, "I'm sorry, Bachan, but I won't be able to fulfill your dreams." "What, are you really after boys?" Not quite successfully joked the former Hokage, not noticing the condition of the blonde. "I won't be able to love again. I just have nothing to love. My heart is broken into small pieces and it's impossible to put it back together." At these words, Tsunade immediately gathered herself and stared at Uzumaki with incomprehension. "It is impossible to heal the heart if love died by your hand." Naruto got up and, without saying another word, left. It took Tsunade quite a bit of time to figure out who he was talking about. After thinking a little more, she got up and went after the blonde. She found him in his room, staring blankly out of the window. She came over and hugged him, hugging him tightly. "My silly Mago, don't be sad, I'm sure that everything will get better soon and you will find happiness." Naruto smiled weakly and hugged her back too. End flashback. In the Hokage's office. Called, Hokage-sama. Anbu in the fox mask asked, "Yes, Naruto, you can take off the mask. I have a mission for you. This is Rangavi's mission." The customer, a certain Yusatsuki no Okuro, asks to accompany him to the swamp country unnoticed. He has to deliver a secret message there. "But I don't like all this. Everything is fine, Kakashi-sensei, my squad will cope with any problems," Naruto said, smiling encouragingly. "I hope so. Go on, you're leaving in 3 hours." "Hi, in the Senju house, Bachan, I'm going on a mission, I'll be gone for about 2 weeks. Please be careful, I have a bad feeling, I won all the time today." "Don't worry, everything will be fine. I will definitely come back. After all, I can't leave you alone." He gently kissed Senju on the top of the head and went to get ready. After 3 hours, he went on a mission from which he will never return. "Wow, my whole body hurts. I don't remember anything that happened to me at all. And where am I anyway? So I need to get ready and open my eyes, but then I heard Kurama calling me, 'Naruto, come down to me.' There is a conversation and now I find myself in my subconscious, but I was suddenly seized with such weakness that I almost fell into the water. It's good that the wall was nearby. So, leaning against the wall, I reached the room where the fox is sitting. But instead of this red rug, I see a cage. How is it? Why is it here? When the hell did I open it? What's going on anyway, Kurama, what's going on? Why are you back in the cage? And why do I feel like Biju was playing football, and instead of the ball it was me? You're going to get a lot worse now, but I'll try to ease your pain." That I didn't have time to answer anything, as such pain pierced my head that I couldn't stand it and screamed, and tears flowed from my eyes. Then I felt the chicken wrapping its tails around me, and the pain gradually subsided. And now I see some girl's memories rushing through my head. Namikaze Naruto. The daughter of Namikaze Minato, the 4th Hokage, and Uzumaki Kushina, the bloody habanero, and has an older brother Akira, who is 6 years older. She was a cheerful child and even a mischievous one. Well, I'm just a kid. I dreamed of becoming a shinobi and being strong like Dad. But one incident changed everything. At the age of 6, she is abducted by some fanatical scientists in order to put on her the experience of becoming a pseudo-Jinchuriki. The girl saw disgusting scenes, a sea of blood, butchered bodies, organs in test tubes. Lying tied on the table, the child prayed that she would be saved. And she was heard, but not by the Allies. The laboratory was attacked by the Nukanins, who did not share something with the scientists, and killed everyone right in front of the frightened child. The girl passed out from fear. She woke up in some dirty basement, tied up. The unfortunate child was rescued a week after the abduction, eaten alive. The parents were shocked and they saw their baby wounded, beaten and looking at the world with empty eyes. There was no trace of that cheerful little girl. Naruto said only a quiet, but firm, "I will not become a shinobi," and did not utter any more words. From that moment on, the relationship in the family began to collapse. Minato became cold to Naruto, singled out only his son, and forgot about his daughter. Akira, though he loved his Amato, but seeing his father's attitude, also pulled away. Only Kushina tried to support her daughter, but Naruto herself did not let her in. She became withdrawn, wore only dark clothes that were several sizes too big to hide herself, tried not to cross paths with her family, sat in the room all the time or left for the whole day. In the village, she was despised, of course. She is a disgrace to the Hokage, weak and without a chakra. In fact, she has a lot of chakra, but those scientists put some kind of seal on the chakra hearth and now it is impossible to use it. This went on for 2 years. The situation in the Namikaze Uzumaki family has not changed. Naruto is still silent, except that Minato has become even more distant from his daughter, although much more. It just doesn't exist for him. One morning Naruto decided to go down to the dining room for breakfast, but she didn't expect Minato to be sitting at the table. Usually at this time he is already in residence. "Honey, you're early today," said Kushina, turning to the steps. "Come sit down now, everything will be ready." Naruto didn't want to eat at the same table with her father and see a cold look, or even worse if he said something to her. She was very offended that after those words of hers, her father did not support her, but shouted and pulled away. She would like him, as a mother, to continue to support, because she loves him very much. So she just shook her head in refusal, put on her shoes and left the house. "Naruto, come back now. Don't you dare leave the house without having breakfast," an enraged Kushina shouted. "If he gets hungry, he'll come back." The blonde heard her father's calm voice. Naruto didn't hear any more. She went for a walk in the woods. Only there could she feel at ease. Only in the forest did she speak again, although mostly she sang. She had a very beautiful voice, gentle and melodious. And now she was walking and humming a simple melody, and at the same time she kept thinking, why did Tasan cool down to her so much? He was so kind, sunny. I always played with her, taught her, helped her in difficult situations. Was he so upset by my words that I wouldn't become a shinobi? No, there must be something else, but what? At the age of 8, Naruto was very smart and quick-witted, and if she still decided to become a shinobi, she could easily have entered the academy right now and not wait a whole year. She was so lost in herself that she didn't hear a strange rustle behind her. And when I realized, it was too late. She was stunned. When she woke up it was the middle of the night. Naruto was lying under a tree, not far from the gang of mercenaries who dragged her here. Fortunately, she was not tied up, which gave her a chance to escape. The mercenaries didn't pay any attention to her, apparently decided that she hadn't woken up yet, and discussed their business. This is what Naruto decided to use. She got up very quietly and, trying not to make any noise, disappeared between the trees. She moved like an experienced shinobi, yet her father was able to teach her at least something, and when she was at a sufficiently large distance, she ran. But she didn't run for long. Soon she heard screams behind her. That meant one thing, she was found. But Naruto wasn't going to give up so easily. She ran even faster, even though she had no strength left. Hiding behind a large tree, Naruto stopped to catch her breath. When suddenly something rustled in the bushes and a little red fox jumped out at the girl, a 9-tailed fox cub. He was battered and limped on his hind leg. Apparently, his relatives disliked him for his differences. Just like me, Naruto thought distantly. The fox looked at the girl with his red eyes, turned around and ran into the depths of the forest. But before reaching the bushes, he stopped and turned towards Naruto. It's like he's calling me to follow him. Although I'd rather go after him than get caught by these mercenaries, she thought, and ran after the fox cub. So they ran for a long time. It had already started to rain, and it was getting harder to run. The beast couldn't run anymore, it just fell. Naruto picked him up and sat down to rest. But they were not given a long rest. After 5 minutes, they heard the sounds of battle. Naruto had no desire to find out who was fighting there. Therefore, overcoming the terrible fatigue in her whole body, she got up and ran. So, without taking apart the road, she ran out to the cliff. "I've finally found you, you little bitch." Turning sharply, Naruto saw one of the kidnappers. The girl was so scared that she staggered back. But she forgot that she was standing in front of a cliff. So, having broken down, Naruto Namikaze died. "Kurama, what was that? And who is this girl, you dash, Kurama, have you hit your head anywhere? How can I be an 8-year-old girl if I'm a 25-year-old guy? Maybe that's how the cell affects you and you get stupid. Don't push yourself, you stupid boy," the fox growled, but then he looked at me sadly and asked, "Naruto, what do you remember from recent events?" I thought about it. But really, what did I do before I got here? And by the way, where is this going? I can't remember anything specific. We died in that world and moved to this one. How so, died? Wait, exactly. The ambush mission and the old man Rikudo, who said something that he was very sorry that my life had turned out this way. And in order to find happiness and find true love, he will move me to a parallel world. And you, as a part of me and my best friend, will go with me. But damn, why the girl? Couldn't the old man find a world where I'm a guy? Apparently, Rikudo decided that you can become a happier girl than when you were a guy. Seriously, arching an eyebrow, asked. And I. Apparently there was so much skepticism in my voice that Kurama did not dare to say anything else. We were silent for a while. I cooled down, and, damn, now I have to get used to talking about myself in a female face, and I decided, and to summarize everything that we have in the end. Okay, what do we have? I got into the body of an 8-year-old girl who can't do anything at all. No strength, no skills, and besides, the chakra is sealed. Although it's not a problem, I'll be able to remove the seal. Judging by the memories, the girl is very hardy, considering how much she ran without preparation. So, what else? The girl is constantly silent, the father hates, the mother is trying to establish contact, although for 2 years she has not succeeded much, the brother does not pay attention, and at first he also tried to establish contact. The villagers despise me. Well, I'm not used to it, there are no friends. Not much. Don't forget that you are also a Jinchuriki, but this is kept in the strictest secret. Everyone thinks that I am sitting in Kushin. There was no attack during childbirth. The seal was weakened by the second birth, and in order to save Kushina and not let me escape, they decided to reprint it. The smaller part was sealed back into Kushina to relieve the pressure from the seal and not let her die, and the second part into you. And Uchiha and Uzumaki are still alive here, but the red-haired ones sit in their Yuzushio and rarely come to visit a relative. So, what are we going to do? Don't stand out or change the attitude towards me? I asked with a sly smile. Knowing you, Uzumaki, you will not be able to sit still, even though you have become calmer. So we will drip on the brains of others, my personal schizophrenia replied with a grin. Oh, I love him, but I won't tell him about this. Although he already knows this and responds in kind. So first we need to do the chakra, expand the chakra canals, and then physical training. Don't worry about the chakra button. Nupka, this flea-bitten lump of wool, stretched out contentedly. I like it, that's what I'll call you. So, all your power is still with you, it's just sealed now. All you have to do is remove the seals, and then the chakra of the local Naruto and ours will begin to merge together. You just have to raise your physical fitness and relearn the techniques so that the body gets used to them. And since you already know them, the process will go faster. At least some good news. But still, how the body hurts, I whined, burrowing deeper into the fox's tails. Well, of course, don't forget, you fell off a cliff, you fool. Say thank you that you're still alive. Thank you, I growled, offended at the fool. Listen, Ku, I just remembered. That little fox, I think he looks like you, so this is me. How's that? You're sealed and can't be in the outside world. You're right, but this is a special case. As you know, we Biju are clusters of chakras that have taken the form of animals. We are material, you can touch us, but we don't have a physical body. And this cute little ball of fur made me like Juby. I don't understand. Oh, I have to explain everything to you. Okay, listen. Juby was a full-fledged being. He had both a body and a chakra. He was like a summoning beast or a ninken. Rikudo sealed the body in the statue of Geto, and from the chakra he created us. Therefore, we cannot have a physical body. But this fox cub is an exception. Perhaps he was nearby when I was being reprinted, and part of my chakra fell on him, changing the body and filling it with chakra. But there is so little of it that it is difficult to detect it. Because of this, even being sealed, I can safely move into it and walk free, and no one will understand that it's me. Everyone will think he's a ninken. And yet, when the Uzumaki clan first appeared, they were famous not only for Fuin, but also for their ninken foxes. We can revive the tradition. Kurama finished his story with a satisfied smile. I agree. Listen, Ku, when can I remove the seals? Not right now, exactly. You need to recover. In about a week. And now it's time for you to come back. I feel someone approaching. I myself will move into my body. Okay, braggart, she said with a smile, leaving her subconscious. The eyes were opened far from the first attempt. When I finally managed to open them, I tried to look around, which turned out to be difficult for me. The body hurt much more than in the subconscious. But still I was able to look around. I was lying in the woods, at the foot of that cliff, but where else would I be, in a pool of my own blood? It's amazing how I haven't died again from such blood loss. The downpour worsened my situation, as if the heavens were mourning the dead Naruto. And now I felt the approach of a man. It's strange, it's a very familiar chakra, but I can't remember whose. I turned my head weakly in the direction where the chakra was felt. Soon, Anbu Kanohi landed on a tree not far from me. He looked at me with red eyes from under the raven mask. Sharingan. Seeing who was lying at the foot, the guy visibly shuddered and rushed to me like a bullet. Naruto. Hold on, Naruto. Akira, she needs to be moved to the hospital urgently. She won't last long. At that moment, another red-haired Anbu landed next to us. But I didn't pay any attention to him. Itachi, I whispered softly and disconnected. Finally, I saw two shocked looks. I woke up in an unfamiliar room. It was not possible to examine the room at once. When trying to open my eyes, they immediately ached from the bright light. The second attempt was more successful. Somehow blinking, with difficulty began to look around the room. Judging by the smell of medicines and the white walls, I am in a hospital. I can't stand hospitals, they got me in the last world. My body, by the way, still hurt, as if the toad boss sat on me. It is understandable, bones do not fuse in one day. And judging by the sensations, I broke at least a couple of ribs and a leg. With such injuries, a normal person will need a month to recover. But who said that I'm normal? Thanks to kurama, I will recover in a week. And it also means that I will have to die here alone for a whole week. No sooner had I succumbed to such sad thoughts, than I felt a stirring at my side. Carefully lifting the edge of the blanket, I saw a sleeping fox cub. God, kurama. Your mimicry can be used as a weapon of mass destruction. Anyone who sees you so cute will immediately fall at your feet, or rather at your paws. Gently stroking the fox cub between the ears, I covered him with a blanket again and began to think about what to do with myself. But before I could really think of anything, hurried footsteps were heard outside the door, and a second later the door was opened with such force that I wonder how it hasn't come off its hinges yet. A red-haired whirlwind burst into the room and began to strangle me in his arms. This vortex turned out to be Kushina. She was crying on my shoulder, and I was sitting in a state of shock. I just didn't know how to behave with her. Even though I knew that I had a family in this world, but my heart is not ready for such changes yet. Naruto, honey, how are you? I heard my mother's voice. Mom, how unusual this word sounds to me. Naruto, what happened? How did you end up in that forest? Kushina kept asking me, knowing that I wouldn't answer anyway. Then a nurse came into the room. She apologized, quickly checked my condition, wrote something down in a notebook and, bowing, left. After sitting in silence for a while, Kushina was about to say something, but she was interrupted by a quiet sneeze under the blanket. With great amazement, she stared at the moving blanket, but when she saw that, or rather who got out of there, she jumped away from the bed with fear. She already wanted to rush to protect her daughter from this monster, because for all her nyashness, the fox cub is very similar to the nine-tailed one, and Uzumaki has suffered enough from him, Kubi. But she just froze in place, staring at me in shock. And what am I? I'm nothing. Just with a gentle smile stroked this ball of wool, which, stretching, as if nothing had happened, climbed onto my shoulder and fell asleep again. That's Sonia. Naruto, who is this? Kachan asked very quietly. He saved me, I answered just as quietly, which brought the woman into even greater shock. However, he was not in shock for long, and immediately attacked me to strangle. I could not consider her embraces in any other way, except as an attempt to kill me. Honey, you're talking again. Mother squeezed her arms tighter and tighter. But I was saved by my stomach, which informed me so timely that I hadn't eaten for a long time. Oh, I'm sorry, dear, I completely forgot, so I brought you some food. After letting me go, the woman began to take out containers with food, and I was able to inhale such necessary air. After looking at the amount of food that Kushina brought, my eyebrows slowly crept up. Wow, a little, but you can eat this amount for 3 days, if not more. Did she completely clean out the refrigerator? My stomach didn't let me think any further, which made itself felt again. Without hesitation, Kachan handed me one of the containers and chopsticks. I don't need to be persuaded twice. I opened the container and quickly ate all the contents. But I'm still hungry. Mom just laughed softly and handed me another box. This time we ate together with kurama. So we ate all the food in 2 mouths, only a little fruit remained. During the meal, Kachan kept her eyes on Ku, and as soon as we finished eating, she picked him up and began to examine him closer. Then she let out some kind of enthusiastic squeak and hugged the fox cub with her. Naruto, I allow him to leave. Somehow the mother declared enthusiastically, continuing to squeeze the unfortunate creature. Naruto, save me, Kurama mentally pleaded, but I was in no hurry to fulfill his request. Well, of course, when else will you see the great and terrible Kubi no Yoko terrorized with impunity? But the happiness was short-lived. Having slightly changed its size, the fox cub was able to escape from the embrace of a woman who unexpected such a thing that in general, we talked a little more, although Kachan spoke mostly. I didn't say another word until Kushina noticed that it was getting dark. Sorry, honey, I have to go home. I need to cook dinner and have time to go to the store. I shook my head and smiled weakly. I knew she cleaned out the refrigerator. Kachan gently hugged me and patted the fox cub on the head and, saying goodbye, left. I lay down a little more and fell asleep, because I was pretty tired during the day. Contrary to my fears, the week in the hospital flew by quickly and cheerfully. Every day Ko Kachan came and brought a lot of food, which was mostly eaten by Ku. She told a lot of funny stories, and I tried to answer her more and more often, gradually coming out of the image of a recluse. But probably the most fun was getting to know my doctor. Flashback: the next morning I woke up very late at 9 o'clock, considering that I used to get up at 6 because of the service in the ANBU. Kurama wasn't around. Apparently he woke up earlier and went for a walk. After lying down for a while, I decided to get up and go to the window. I had no time to put my feet on the floor when the door opened and a young girl of 25 years old came into the ward. She had shoulder-length brown hair, big brown eyes, and purple markings on her cheeks. But most importantly, she had the Byakugu seal. As you can imagine, my attending physician is a former student of my father and, apparently, a student of Tsunade. No era Rin, Naruto, you can't get up yet. Come back to bed, please. That I frowned a little, but obeyed. That's a good girl. The girl smiled at me. Now we will conduct a series of tests and see how your recovery is going. To begin with, what exactly we're going to do, I never found out. A dark-haired hurricane burst into the ward and began circling Rin around the room. Rin, darling, I'm back. The girl was laughing merrily, and I couldn't understand what was going on. Only after looking closely, I realized that. Uchiha Obito? I was obviously not ready for such a meeting that I sat and stared in shock at the developing scene in front of me, first a live Rin, then a completely healthy Obito without scars and both eyes are in place. Apparently there was no such incident in this world, or, on the contrary, Kakashi died. I already thought that it was already difficult to surprise me. But how wrong I was. After digging into my memories, I found out that Noera is no Noera, but Uchiha. Besides, the young family are my godparents, as well as Kakashi, and Jiraiya with Tsunade. Creepy, as many as 5 godparents. And if I'm used to Kakashi, Jiraiya and Tsunade, then I don't know these two at all. And based on the memories, we saw each other 2 years ago. Even before the incident. And after that I didn't let them. Obito was still talking to Rin, who had apparently forgotten about me. But this idyll did not last long. Suddenly, Obito squealed and began rushing around the ward, and on the on the spot, loving adventures, hung a fox cub. Apparently Kurama had already returned from a walk and wanted to sleep again, when Obito burst in and started making noise. So Ku taught him a lesson. I couldn't hold back anymore and laughed softly. From the melodious, but such unexpected laughter, the Uchiha couple froze in place. And already they were looking at me with shock. Kurama calmly unhooked himself and with his whole appearance showing that he was the king, and we were all slaves, jumped on the bed and settled on my shoulder. Without saying anything, my visitors went out into the corridor, and flashback, and finally they let me go home. I had already collected everything I had, and I began to wait for Kachan. She was a little late, but I wasn't worried. I had time to think. What awaits me at home? During my entire stay in the hospital, only my mother visited me. I know that Naruto has problems in his family, but I don't understand how you can be so dismissive of a member of your family. Well, anyway, I'll sort it out on the spot. Besides, Mom has already come and brought clothes. Looking at this semblance of normal clothes, I realized that I would soon have to raid the store. And now I have to put on what I have. I wore a long dark hoodie and pants, which were most likely my brother's shorts, because they were hanging out on me just creepy. I did not put on the hood, as the local Naruto did. Instead, Kurama got in there. What a scoundrel. Quickly putting on my sneakers, I left the ward and approached Kushina, who was talking to Rin. Seeing my appearance, the girls shook their heads disapprovingly, but said nothing. Used to. After saying goodbye to Rin, we went home. By the way, I quickly got closer to know her, although I still try not to talk a lot. And now I know who will go shopping with me. We walked through the main street of Konoha. All the way I was looking at the village. Konoha was exactly the same as in my world, except for one detail. Everywhere you could see people with the badge of the Konoha police. Uchiha. Kurama growled in displeasure and burrowed deeper into the hood. I lifted the corner of my lip slightly at that. Kurama is Kurama, so while thinking, I didn't notice how we approached the house. It was a large 2-story house. There is also a small garden in front of the house and a huge backyard, with a pond and an old sakura tree next to it. And there is even a polygon. In the house on the ground floor there was a living room, a kitchen with a dining room, a toilet, a bathroom and a couple of guest rooms. On the second floor there is also a separate bathroom with toilet, my brother's and my brother's rooms, my parents' bedroom, a study and another guest room. And there is also an armory, which is located in the basement. Well, it's quite a nice house. We're home. Kushina shouted and went to the kitchen to sort out the products that we managed to buy on the way. Minato came out of the living room at the voice. He kissed his wife and completely ignored his daughter. Even though I was expecting something like this, it still hurt terribly. Therefore, without saying a word, I rushed upstairs to my room, out of the corner of my eye noticing my father's expression, which said that I was worthless. Entering the room, I threw myself on the bed, barely holding back tears. Don't cry, Button, we'll figure out what's going on here and we'll also make this idiot respect you. Thank you, Ku, for being with me. I couldn't have done it alone. Hugging Kurama, who became almost as tall as me, I fell asleep. Sleep, Naruto, we can overcome all difficulties together. And everything will be fine with us. In the morning, Kushina woke up early as usual and immediately went down to the kitchen. She needed to have time to cook breakfast for her men, escort them to work, and then go wake up Naruto so that she could eat too. The woman perfectly understood her daughter's unwillingness to eat with her family when your father completely ignores you or, even worse, humiliates you by lowering her self-esteem even lower. Although much more, it is already below the baseboard. Therefore, she did not resist her daughter's desire not to leave her room or go for a walk all day, just not to meet her father. But what Kushina didn't understand was why Minato had so abruptly cooled down to the daughter he loved the most. When he found out that he was going to have a daughter, he behaved like a happy idiot for a whole month. And when she was born and smiled at him for the first time, he simply melted and did not let her go from him for a minute. This idiot even dragged her to the residence and to meetings. No, you can imagine, you have an important meeting going on, and the head of the village is playing with a child. Although the heads of the clans did not particularly mind. They also fell in love with this sunny child, from whose smile it is impossible not to smile back. Then Kushina had to give her husband a dressing down with the participation of a frying pan, so that he finally realized that the child should stay with his mother, and he himself went about his work. When Naruto was kidnapped, Minato raised the whole village on his ears and led the search himself. They will also be joined by Fugaku Uchiha and Hayashi Hyuga with their men. But even so, it took them a whole week to find the girl. But did her daughter's words that she would not become a shinobi change Minato's opinion about her? No, of course he would be upset, but he would support her in this decision. So there was something else. But here's what Kushina could not understand. "Good morning, Mom," Akira muttered sleepily as he entered the kitchen. Speaking of him, his attitude towards Naruto was much better. But also not rosy. If at the beginning he still tried to somehow establish contact with her, then he let everything take its course, deciding that Naruto herself would contact him when she returned to normal. But it never happened. Therefore, sometimes he himself was interested, though from his mother, how she was feeling. "That's how it is now, Kachan. How is Naruto's condition? Why don't you ask her yourself?" "I would like to, but she still ignores me and won't answer me," he complained childishly. Kushina smiled mysteriously. "I wouldn't be so sure." "What do you mean?" Akira didn't understand, but then remembering something, he whispered to himself, "Didn't I hear it then? What are you talking about?" Akira raised an eyebrow in surprise. He didn't think Kushina would hear him. But then he smiled and explained, "When we found Naruto near the cliff, I heard her call Itachi by name, but so softly that I decided I was imagining it. But had she started talking again? Not really, but sometimes she answered me." Kushina smiled tenderly, finishing setting the table. At that moment, Minato came down to the kitchen. Sit down to breakfast. After seeing the men off to work, Kushina went upstairs to wake up her daughter. What was her surprise when, entering the room, she saw that Naruto was not only awake, but also arranged a real dump in the room. "In the morning I woke up early as always, the sun is just rising over the village." Yawning sweetly and stretching, I decided to look around. The room was large, decorated in beige and gold tones. A large wall-to-wall wardrobe, a chest of drawers, a couple of bedside tables, a dressing table and a large double bed by the window, on which I was lying, carefully covered with a blanket. Apparently Kurama did his best. How cute he is, but you can't tell by his eternally snide behavior. Looking around, I didn't find a fox cub. So he's already gone for a walk. After lying around a little more, I got up and resolutely headed for the mirror. It's funny to say, but during the whole week of my stay in the hospital, I never once looked at my reflection. But never mind, we'll fix it now. When I got closer, I jumped aside in horror. I look like some kind of brownie, disheveled, in baggy clothes. Without thinking twice, I threw off all this horror, remaining in gray sports underwear, and returned to the mirror. From there, a pretty girl with long golden hair reaching to the waist looked at me, big eyes the color of a clear sky framed by long black eyelashes. Such dear stripes on my cheeks. And not very plump pink lips. My body has already begun to acquire feminine curves, my hips are more rounded and my breasts are already clearly visible. Of course, not the first size, but you can't call me flat either. And it's pretty weird. Usually girls at this age are more angular. Maybe it's because of Kurama that my body began to develop faster. Without focusing on this, I opened the closet and was horrified again. How? Well, that's how you can wear so much black. Absolutely all things were either black or dark gray. With a dissatisfied expression on my face, I began to sort out the closet, dividing things into two piles, which I can still put on, and which should be thrown out immediately. After working for 20 minutes, I dismantled half of the closet, but the first pile was not replenished with a single thing, and I still remained in my underwear. Sighing heavily, I pulled out a more or less colored thing from the second pile. It turned out to be a long swamp-colored sweater with a high collar. Armed with scissors and spending another half hour, I was showing off in a pretty good dress. It was fitted to the middle of the thigh and open shoulders. Well, it turned out very well. Tying my high ponytail, I continued to disassemble the closet. As a result, The whole floor is littered with unnecessary things, and for myself I left only leggings, a pair of short leggings and several t-shirts and shorts for sleeping. Yes, not too much. I'm definitely going shopping today. Having found garbage bags in the nightstands, she began to put things away. That's what Kachan found me doing. At first she was surprised at such a mess, and then her gaze darted to me. She gasped in delight, "Honey, you look great today, but what are you doing, cleaning?" After a short silence, she asked, "Kachan, can we go shopping today?" And such a sad look at the closet, quickly realizing what was what, Kushina just lit up with happiness. "Of course, honey, you go down to breakfast, and I'll clean up here and call Makoto. Let's do a girly shopping today." Smiling at my mother, I put on high shinobi boots and went down to the kitchen. After a quick breakfast, I washed the dishes and waited for my mother. She managed pretty quickly. After half an hour we went to the Uchiha quarter, where we met Makoto and Rin. I didn't expect to see the latter, but I was glad to meet her. The Uchiha clearly tried to strangle me when they saw me in a new image. Oddly enough, Obito, who was our porter today, saved me. Snatching me out of the hands of happy women, he hugged me tightly and put me on his shoulder. I was wildly embarrassed by this pose, but all my attempts to get off were ignored. In this position, I reached the shops. All the villagers turned around in surprise at us. Of course, it's not often you see the daughter of the Hokage, despised by everyone, riding in someone's arms. The first store was the underwear department, where, of course, Obito was not allowed. Inspired women dragged me from one rack to another, picking up different styles for me. I didn't mind much, just throwing off all the problems with shopping on them, obediently trying on everything they would give me, and dragging myself from one store to another. So we walked until the evening. Wow, I didn't even notice how long we walked. Finally, having finished shopping, we went towards the house. Mom sealed all the purchases in a scroll, otherwise we just wouldn't have carried them, even 5 of us, so we went light. More precisely, they were walking, and I was riding Obito again. He loved me like a little sister and missed me very much during this time, and therefore did not want to let me go from him one step. After going to another store and buying food for dinner, we went towards the Uchi quarter. From there, after saying goodbye to Makoto and Rin, Obito still wouldn't let me go, we went home. Already near the house, Kushina tried to tear me away from Obito. He, like a small child who is trying to take away his favorite toy, did not want to let me go. I was pretty sick of it, so I used the surest way. "Obito-san, please let me go," I said quietly but firmly. By the way, I didn't say a word during the whole walk. So now, with shock, he puts me down on the ground and looks with disbelieving eyes. As soon as I'm on the ground, I hide behind my mother, otherwise she'll grab me in her arms again. Therefore, before he comes to his senses, I quickly add, "Goodbye, Obito-san, I'll come over to play with you and Rin-chan sometime," and a timid smile at the end. He's ready for everything. He even started crying. After saying goodbye once more, my mom and I entered the house, leaving the roaring guy alone. After going inside, I helped my mom put out the groceries and went to the bathroom to freshen up. After a quick shower, I realized I hadn't brought a change of clothes. But remembering that it was just me and mom at home, I just wrapped myself in a towel and went into the room. On the bed were already opened bags with things. Taking out new underwear, homemade knee-length shorts and a t-shirt, I quickly changed and went back down to the kitchen to help my mom with cooking. To say that Kushina was surprised is to say nothing. Yes, I have a talent for bringing people to a state of shock. That's why I'm the most unpredictable Konoha ninja. Kushina quickly recovered from the shock, was glad that I became interested in household chores, and with great pleasure began to explain to me what and how to do. I deftly followed all the instructions, trying not to worry that I already know all this. After all, living with Bachan, I had to take on all the housework. That's how I learned to cook. Having quickly prepared dinner, we sat down to wait for my father and brother. But why were they late? But Ku came. He deftly jumped onto my lap and stared with such hungry eyes that I couldn't stand it and laughed. Kachan quickly filled his bowl with food and put it next to the table. I ate with kurama, and my mother decided to wait for the men. After eating and cleaning up the dishes after myself and Ku, I went to sort things out. Mom offered her help and I agreed. So in 4 hands we quickly dismantled all the packages and put everything in the closet. And very timely. There was the sound of a door opening downstairs. Mom hurried downstairs, wishing me good night, and I went to bed. Lying in bed and habitually hugging Ku, we decided that it was time to remove the seals from the chakra. Therefore, starting tomorrow, I begin to return to my former form that I woke up for some reason from lack of oxygen. Opening my eyes and looking around, I came across a huge muzzle. For some reason, a huge chicken with my height was lying on me. Kurama, get off me, I drawled, trying to push this carcass off me. But this bastard didn't even move his ear, on the contrary, he grumbled something rather and smiled. I told someone, get off, red rug. Twisting around, I was able to throw him off. What are you doing, you pathetic biped? The fox immediately jumped up. I sat on the bed and looked down at him. Don't bark, you stupid fox. You grew up in a dream, you almost strangled me. Seeing how Kurama pressed his ears and sat on his hind legs, I changed my anger to mercy. Okay, forget it. What did you even dream about? Have you hunted bulls? I joked. I drove you, Ku muttered softly. But when he realized what he had said, he immediately tried to escape. I didn't have time, Nyaya, Kurama, you're such a cutie. Even in my sleep, you spoil me. Immediately rushed to hug him. Ginger tried to sneak away at first, but then he resigned himself. So for 5 minutes we were just fooling around, lying on the floor. Then I hugged him very gently but tightly, pulling him to me, and kissed him on the nose. Thank you, Ku, for being there and taking care of me, I whispered softly. You're welcome, Button, he replied affectionately, clinging even closer to me, and rubbed his muzzle against his cheek. And now go wash up and let's go have breakfast. Okay. I quickly washed my face, brushed my teeth and returned to the room. Going to the closet, I began to think about what to wear. At first I wanted to dress the same as yesterday, but then I remembered that I would start training today. I chose black leggings and a sea green kimono with a pink belt. After changing clothes, I quickly tied a high ponytail, put on standard black shinobi sandals and went out into the corridor. Judging by the noise downstairs, the whole family is in the kitchen. Kurama, having become a little fox again, ran merrily down. Well, what can I say, he really liked the cooking of Kushina, so he rushes in anticipation of trying something delicious. I can't blame him for this, because my mom really cooks very tasty. In the kitchen, everyone was sitting and quietly having breakfast and a red hurricane burst into the kitchen and jumped on Kushina's lap. Besides Naruto, he only allowed her to touch him, and then only for food. Oh, Ku, you scared me. Have you decided to have breakfast too? Kushina asked, laughing. She quickly put food on him and was about to sit down when Naruto entered the kitchen. Honey, are you up yet? Sit down, I'll put it for you now too. I smiled faintly and sat down in my seat. Mom quickly put a plate of food in front of me and sat down in her seat. Kurama, who had already eaten his portion, jumped on my lap and wanted to steal something from my plate. Without thinking twice, I grabbed him by the scruff of the neck and, without looking, threw him somewhere behind my back. Minato and Akira were watching all this with a dumbfounded expression on their faces. First, a fox cub runs into the kitchen from nowhere, which Kushina calmly feeds. Then Naruto comes in, who not only hasn't eaten with her family for 2 years, but also looks different. She no longer hides behind big and dark clothes. Now she looks much better in new clothes. But what shocked the men the most was how Naruto calmly threw out the impudent fox cub and continued to eat. I ate calmly but quickly, got up, collected the dishes and took them to the sink. I wanted to wash it already, but Kachan gently pushed me away. I smiled weakly and pointed to the street, silently saying that I would go for a walk. Mom quickly understood everything. Okay, just come back for dinner. I nodded curtly and walked towards the exit. And then the father died. Already at the door, he coldly called out to me. Stop. Where are you going? Aren't you having enough of the problems you've already caused us? Walking, I said softly and smiled a little. I told you I have a talent for shocking people. There Akira froze in the aisle and even forgot what he wanted to say. He stands, opens and closes his mouth. My father even seemed to have an eye twitching. I'm a baby. I waved goodbye to my mom and left. I went to a remote clearing in the forest. Once upon a time, in the time of Hashirama, it was a training ground. Then they forgot about it, and now it is a small clearing surrounded by trees on all sides, with a small river running nearby. It was my favorite place in that world. As a child, I used to come here to train, then just relax. This place was comforting. I chose it because of the remoteness. No one will bother me here. But there was another factor. How to remove the seal if you don't have a chakra? That's right, use natural energy. And this place is just full of her. Just like on Mount Mayaboku. When I finally came to the clearing, I began to prepare. To remove the seal with the help of natural energy, you need to use the power of any of the basic elements. In my case, there will be 2 of them. This is earth and water, because to remove the seal of this level, you need a huge amount of chakra. I could also use air, but right now this body is not able to contain so much power. It is dangerous to use even one element without a chakra, but here there are 2. So I use a catalyst. A tree will serve as a catalyst for unification. I quickly built a kind of circle out of branches, drew special seals. On my left hand I drew the seal of the earth with earth, on my right I drew the seal of water with water. While I was performing these manipulations, I listened to Kurama's explanations along the way. Listen, Naruto, when you take off the seals, you will experience a lot of pain. Now your chakra and the chakra of the past Naruto are like cocoons of seals, so there is no chakra in your chakra canals and they are very thin. Over the past week, I've been running my chakra through them and expanding. When removed, the entire chakra will try to fill the hearth and chakra canals, but since they are still thin, they will simply break. Your task, with the help of natural energy, is to surround the entire chakra in a cocoon and start the fusion process. The most difficult thing will be, without paying attention to the pain and without interrupting, to create a thick enough cocoon to last for a month. That's how long the merger will go. Also during this month, periodically you will experience wild fatigue that you can hardly even move, and it will last for 2 hours, then everything will be as it was. If the cocoon turns out to be too thin, the chakra will break out and break the chakra canals, and you will no longer be able to become a shinobi. If there is a lot, then the natural energy will begin to absorb your own and then you know what will happen. How do I know that the cocoon is the right thickness? Do you remember which seals you use? Lock release printing and control printing, that's right. We need a control seal to regulate the supply of chakra. The stronger you become, the more chakra the seal will leak. Well, I'll do that already. So, when the cocoon is the right thickness, the seal is activated. You will see the thin golden ligature of fuin. This will be a signal that it's time to stop. I will set up a barrier so that no one feels the release of the chakra, and I will ease your pain. Thanks. Well, shall we get started? I sat in the lotus position so that my left hand touched the ground and my right hand touched the water. Feeling the influx of energy, I activated the seals. At the same moment, I felt such pain, as if I was being torn apart from the inside. Overcoming the pain, I began to weave a cocoon. Soon I felt relieved and it became easier to work. As Kurama said, when I gained enough energy, the fuin ligature appeared. But it was almost transparent, and I almost missed it. But I was able to finish successfully. Activating the seal, I collapsed to the ground. It felt like I was fighting Madara. Somehow recovering, I crawled under a tree that grew next to the river. Kurama settled down by his side and removed the barrier. So we fell asleep. I woke up from the fact that someone was shaking me. That is Naruto, dream. Naruto, wake up. He was sitting on his knees in front of me, Itachi. What is he doing here? And he kept bombarding me with questions. What happened? Why are you sleeping here? Naruto, but I was so tired that I didn't understand what he was saying at all. Yawning sweetly, I couldn't think of anything better than to put my head on Itachi's lap and continue to sleep. But after 5 minutes I jumped sharply, realizing what I had done. Strangely, Itachi didn't react at all. He was still sitting quietly and looking at me with mild interest. That is it, Uchiha. So we sat for another 5 minutes until I decided to break the silence. Thank you for saving me then. You're welcome, he said with a smile, and then added, we had a mission to catch those mercenaries, and I found you by accident. Thanks anyway. What are you doing here? I was walking. You're not going home? I shook my head and stared at the surface of the water. It's strange, but this Itachi is very similar to mine, from my world. Although I hadn't known that Itachi for a long time, but I respected him very much. He became an example for me. I didn't notice how I was immersed in memories. Flashback. It happened shortly before our mission to return Sasuke. I asked Granny Tsunade to visit the archive to learn more about my parents. Yes, I already knew whose son I was. Somehow, in a fit of rage, the fox let slip. So, while studying the documents, I came across one case. It was obvious that they were trying to destroy him, but something went wrong. But that's not the point now. It was a report on a top-secret mission of the S++ rank. The code name is Destruction of Infection. Quickly running through the text, I was shocked. If you believe these records, it turns out that Itachi cut out the clan on the orders of the hokage and should not be considered a criminal. Yes, the papers did not say in plain text that this was the incident with the Uchiha, but I was not a fool, contrary to everyone's opinion, and I can add 2 plus 2. After that, I thought about it for a long time and involuntarily began to admire this man, and despise the third. After all, for the sake of protecting the village, he agreed to destroy his clan. I wouldn't be able to do that for sure. A few days after I found out the truth, our team was sent on an escort mission. At the end of the mission, the client was ambushed. As a result, we delivered the customer in one piece, but Captain Yamato was injured. We were not going to stay in that village, so we left the next day. But because of the captain's injury, we often made a halt. And so, in one of these halts, I met Itachi. We had to stop again and dress Yamato's wounds. Sakura began to treat the wounds, and I went hunting. After catching a rabbit and butchering it, I got dirty all over and decided to go wash up. After handing the rabbit to Sakura, I hope she won't spoil it, I went towards the river. Arriving at the place, I immediately jumped into the water. After a quick wash, I pulled off my Olympic jacket and began to wash. It was for this case that Itachi caught me. It was obvious that he wasn't going to attack. Therefore, with a clear conscience, I continued my work. Itachi was clearly puzzled by my indifference, but did not give himself away in any way. Meanwhile, I went ashore, hung up my things and created a light breeze. A side effect of Rasen Shuriken radiation. I learned how to create a breeze. Useless in battle, but it's just right to dry your clothes like this. Tell me, shouldn't you be trying to attack me now? I heard a question behind my back. But instead of answering, I asked, answer me, Itachi, why did you agree to carry out the order? Was it really impossible to find another solution? Itachi stared at me in incomprehension, but when it came to him, he just couldn't say anything. He just stood there and opened and closed his mouth in a dumb question, how? Then, seeing something in my gaze, Itachi decided to tell me everything. He talked about his friend Shusui, and how he died, and about Danzo and the clan, and why he decided to carry out the order. I listened in silence without interrupting, then I told how I found out about the order. I'm surprised. You're hiding behind a fool mask, but you're actually pretty smart, Naruto. Why do you need it, to hide the pain from prying eyes? They just won't understand me. I can't say that I love his brother, and to hide my feelings, I hide behind a mask. Itachi didn't say anything. Just leaving, he added, Naruto, you are a bright sun for our village. No matter what clouds cover the sky, you always find a way out and warm everyone with your smile. I believe in your light and I hope it will help Sasuke to banish all the darkness in his soul. End flashback. Now, remembering that day, I began to notice Itachi's strange behavior. He behaved exactly the same as then. Even though we're just sitting, something is bothering me. Without noticing that I was speaking out loud, I uttered a phrase that Itachi had once told me, we don't really know what kind of person we are until we die. When death comes to accept you, you will realize that you are. That's what death is, don't you think? What did you say? How do you know this phrase? Now I understood what was bothering me. This is the Itachi. He recognized his words. I turned in his direction and smiled brightly and sincerely, just like I smiled in that world. An old friend once shared this wisdom from where? Really? It can't be. Naruto Uzumaki. I didn't say anything, just nodded in agreement, continuing to smile. But how did you end up here? Really? Did Naruto Namikaze die that time? Yes, falling off a cliff, the local Naruto died. But it so happened that I also died in that world, and old man Rikudo did not want me to die without finding happiness. So he sent me here to live a happier life. Itachi looked at me strangely, and then he laughed. Not even like that, he laughed. I didn't think that Rikudo Sannin was still a joker. And how do you live as a girl? And continued to laugh. Ku didn't let me take offense at this. He just quietly crept up to Itachi and bit him on the leg. It was so comical that it was my turn to laugh. After tormenting Itachi enough, Ku jumped onto my shoulder. He really likes to ride on my neck and pretend to be a collar. After scratching him behind the ear and seeing the question in Uchiha's eyes, I decided to clarify. This is Ku, Kurama, also known as Kyubi no Yoko, the nine-tailed one. I'll tell you everything later. Better tell me, how long have you been here? I've been here since the beginning. After the abolition of Edo Tensei, I was born here. There was no Shinigami or Rikudo like you. I grew up as an ordinary child, studied and trained. It's even funny, but here I also became a genius who entered the academy at 7, having no memories of a past life. But somewhere from the age of 8, I began to have dreams. Every night the dream was a continuation of the previous one, and at some point I realized that these were not just dreams, but memories. Itachi talked a lot more about the academy and his team. Oddly enough, his partners were Shusui and Akira. 3 geniuses passed from the beginning of the academy to work at the ANBU. He told me how he tried to raise Sasuke, but he still grew up a spoiled selfish asshole, and a lot more. When he finished, it was already dinner time. So we had to get ready to go home. Naruto, will you tell me what happened in that world? Let's do it another time, you can't tell it in 2 words. Okay. What are you going to do now? First you need to prepare your body for using the chakra, and then I will restore my strength. Do you want me to help with training? I'd be only too glad. So, while talking, we reached my house. Well, see you later, Tay. He smiled at me. Why the sun? Remember, I said that you are the sun of the village. I am sure that you will shine in this world as well. Thank you, I-kun. I'm looking forward to our training sessions. And while Itachi was moving away from the new nickname, I happily disappeared behind the door. We went in a small group. I'm like the captain, 2 more ANBU from my squad and the customer. It takes 4 days to get to the swamp country in the usual way. But since we had to get there unnoticed, we had to go by secret paths, and the journey time stretched for a week. The situation was also worsened by the fact that our employer was a simple civilian, and he could not withstand long movements. I had to stop often. As Kakashi-sensei said, this mission is kind of weird. Considering that Yusatsuki, as he said, delivers important information and hires an ANBU squad, he should have been hunted anyway. And it doesn't matter that we move secretly, we had to be attacked somewhere. But this is not happening. I am also alarmed by the fact that recently I destroyed a criminal organization with my squad in the swamp country. Now she was still weak, but according to our spies, in a year or 2 she would have reached the level of Akatsuki. That's why we were assigned a mission of destruction until it all turned into the 5th war, and, as it turned out, my fears were not in vain. On the 6th day of our journey, a fog descended on the earth. This is typical for this area, but Kurama felt something strange. Naruto, be careful, this fog is unusual. It doesn't do any harm, but there's something wrong with it, and I can't figure out what. Got it. I gave the team a sign to be on their guard, and we continued on our way. The next day we were attacked. It was a cleverly planned ambush. No wonder I remembered that organization. The surviving members set a trap for us. There were only about 10 attackers, but that fog, according to Kurama, contained some new kind of poison that blocks the chakra and somehow affects the nervous system. It doesn't work on Kurama and me, but the other 2, unfortunately, have already been killed. I tried to protect the customer and fight back. Having created a dozen clones, he left 3 for protection, and rushed into battle with the rest. Having created a fireball, he used the blades of the wind to divide and increase the size of the resulting balls. Thanks to this technique, there are 5 opponents left. But they did not lag behind. Using water and lightning techniques, they were able to get 3 clones. I noticed that one of the attackers separated and headed towards Yusatsuki. Swapping places with the clones, he successfully repelled the attack. After killing the attacker, I switched to the remaining 2, the clones managed to kill 2, but they were also hurt. Left alone against 2, I was about to apply the Fire Phoenix technique, when everything swam before my eyes. It turned out that I was affected by that fog, though not immediately. Thanks to Kurama, the effect of the poison lasted only a few seconds. But that was enough for the enemies. While I was recovering, one of the attackers managed to bitch again. That bastard cut off my hand. Yes, that everyone likes to deprive me of my hand so much. I jumped back to the customer to change the tactics of the battle, but even then a setup was waiting for me. No wonder this bastard is called Yusatsuki. That lying bastard, as soon as I turned my back on him, drove a clearly poisoned blade into me. Apparently he decided that I had already lost and there was no point in pretending. Taking advantage of my position, the other two also pierced me with katanas. Well, it's my fault, I relaxed a little. But I'm not going to give up on them either. Quickly folding the seals, I used one of my own wind techniques. A bloody tornado. The technique is similar to Rasen Shuriken, only for short distances. The blades of the wind diverge from my body at great speed, forming swirls that destroy everything within a radius of 10 m. Hence the name. After destroying all the enemies, I collapsed to the ground. Sorry, Kurama, but it looks like we won't get out of this mess alive. The wounds are too serious, and because of the poison on the knife, I can't control the chakra properly. I think it's time to say goodbye. You know, Naruto, I've lived a long and lonely life. But the last 10 years have been the happiest in my life. I don't regret joining our lives. And I certainly don't regret leaving this world with you. I forced a smile at my friend and coughed. It looks like this is the end. Somehow collecting the chakra, I used the summoning technique. A small green toad appeared out of a cloud of smoke. Hi, me, Kaka. Wouldn't, could, you, Ka, take ours, bodies, Ka, and to take them to the village, so the hero of the CHVSH died, without even being able to fully voice his last request. I woke up in a strange space. It looked like the night sky, the same black with white patches. Nicely. I don't know how long I swam like that, admiring the beauties, until I felt someone's presence. Turning around, he saw Kurama. I immediately rushed to him, hugging him. Ku, how glad I am that you are near, but where are we? I don't know, but I think we'll find out now. And in confirmation of his words, Rikudo appeared in front of us. Hello, my children. Naruto, my boy, I'm terribly sorry that your fate turned out so terribly. I don't want you to die like this without knowing real happiness. That's why I want to send you to a parallel world, so that there you forget all the sorrows and find your happiness. After exchanging glances with Kurama, we immediately understood each other. Okay, we agree. It looks like you don't even doubt that you will go with Kurama. The old man smiled. I answered him in the same way. It can't be any other way, because we are one. Well, Naruto, this world will be different from yours, but not much. But I am sure that in these changes you will find what you have been looking for so long. Good luck to you, Naruto, Kurama. And the world was covered with white light. Naru, honey, are you going to train alone today? Kushina asked, setting the table. No, Mom, Ikuin returned from a mission yesterday, so today we train together. Passing into the kitchen, I kissed my mother on the cheek and sat down at the table. It's been 2 weeks since the start of training with Itachi, and I still haven't told you about what happened in that world. And Ikuin is not rushing me with this. Kushina placed a breakfast plate in front of me, attracting my attention. Then I'll cook you lunch with me for 2. Otherwise, I know you will get carried away and forget about everything in the world. By the way, I told my mom about the training on the first day. And she also became my accomplice in hiding these very trainings. Flashback the next day, after talking to Itachi, I specifically waited for Minato and Akira to leave, and went down to the kitchen. Good morning, Kachan. Good morning, honey, sit down, we'll have breakfast, and immediately put 2 plates on the table. I am very pleased that my mother is having breakfast with me. Kachan, could you lend me a kunai? I want to start training. Kushina almost choked with surprise. Oh, I probably should have waited until she finished eating. At first she stared at me uncomprehendingly, then slowly the realization came. Naruto, are you serious now? I just nodded, smiling sheepishly. At that moment, Kurama jumped on his shoulder and immediately regretted it. Because at the same second we were swept away by a hurricane called Happy Kushina. We were squeezed for a couple of minutes until I let out a death squeak. After all, Mom is not a weak woman. She immediately let me go and, as I recently did, smiled shyly. "I'm sorry, Naru, I'm just so glad that you finally decided to forget the past and start training." Wait a bit, Mom ran away somewhere, apparently to the armory, because she soon returned with a small backpack full of different weapons. There were kunai, shurikens, senbons, and, it seems, even kusarigama. Yeah, she's really happy. That's how she perked up. "Mom, I would like to ask one more thing. Can you not tell your father and brother about this yet?" "Of course, it will be our secret." "But why don't you at least tell Akira? He could help you with your training." "I don't want to tell him until we establish a relationship with him. Besides, Ikuen will help me with my training." "Who?" "Itachi. We agreed to train together yesterday." "Oh, Ikuen, then? Should I be getting ready for the wedding already?" Kachan winked at me playfully. "Ma'am," I said pitifully, "Itachi and I are just friends. I respect him for his aspirations, mind and views on life and nothing more." "Okay, I'll run. I don't want to keep Ikuen waiting." "Well, whatever you say." "Run, of course, but don't strain yourself too much." And flashback thanking my mom for lunch, which she sealed in a scroll, because Itachi could print it. I quickly packed up and rushed off towards the polygons. I was in a hurry to meet Itachi, because I really missed him during these 4 days that he was on a mission. It's so strange, the one who was an enemy in that world, though not for long and then became an ally, in this world became my best friend. We share our experiences, support each other, share our joys, and it's so natural, as if we've known each other all our lives. I am very glad that he was reborn in this world. While thinking, I did not notice how I came to the landfill. Itachi wasn't there, so I started warming up. I ran 10 laps, 40 squats, push-ups and throwing shurikens. Now I can safely get 5 out of 10, and at the beginning I couldn't even really finish it. Yes, there are throws, I couldn't even run 1 lap normally, and at the end I almost crawled around. My body was so unprepared. Having already finished the warm-up, I felt Itachi approaching. Thanks to kurama, even with a sealed chakra, I can develop my sensory abilities. Turning around, I cheerfully threw myself on Itachi's neck. "Ikuen, you're finally back." "Hi, Tae," he patted me on the head. "Well, shall we start training?" I immediately jumped down and took a fighting stance. So we trained for 3 hours, practicing punches, and Itachi pointed out some mistakes and taught different fighting styles. Until the attack happened. Itachi was very scared, because I hadn't told him about the chakra yet. He quickly carried me under a tree. "Tae, how are you? What happened?" "Don't worry, Ikuen, it's all right. It's just that while my chakra is merging, I will have these attacks. They are harmless, just extreme fatigue for a couple of hours, and then I'll be like a cucumber. This is a kind of reboot of my body." "Listen, Naruto, I kept wanting to ask how it happened that your chakra remained sealed. Really, there were no masters of the right level in Uzushio? You see, when those bastards put the seal, they touched the seal of 8 trigrams. No, they didn't mess it up or anything. It's just that their seal overlapped with mine. Because of this, the would-be uzumaki did not remove the seal, fearing to touch the seal of the kyubi. I scratched Kurama, who came running to me behind the ear and continued. To remove this seal, you need to do painstaking work, and of the remaining members of the clan, alas, no one has such skills. Mom also tried, but her knowledge was not enough. Kurama, having grown to the size of a large dog, settled down between us, putting his head on Itachi's lap, allowing himself to be stroked, and covered me with tails. Yes, the great and terrible Kubi no Yoko, an ardent hater of all red-eyed, recognized one of them, and even allows himself to be stroked. Getting comfortable, I fell asleep, and looking at us, Itachi also dozed off. POV Itachi was quite strange to live one life, and in a dream to see another. However, I quickly understood everything and decided that I would live the second life given to me, protecting both my family and the village, and would not make the same mistakes. The clan was not going to make a coup in this world, so I spent all my free time with Sasuke or training with Shusui. Speaking of which, unlike that Shusui, this one is a real ulcer. It's his way of testing people. He lost his parents in the war, and since he is the nephew of the head of the clan, many people tried to make friends with him, to gain favor. So he weeded out those who wanted to get only profitable connections from him, and not his friendship. There were few such people. This is the clan, and Akira Namikaze, another little genius in our circle. We were always together. Because our families were friends, we constantly went to visit each other. So I met an exact copy of one restless blonde from another life. Naruto Namikaze, the little son that won the hearts of all of us. She was only 2 when we first met, but even then her smile and ringing laugh could drive away all the sorrows of this world, as Naruto Uzumaki did. But everything changed 4 years later, her light faded, and her voice subsided. After the abduction, Naruto did not let anyone else near her and closed herself off from the world. I do not know what exactly happened in the Namikaze family, but after that, Minato somehow changed. My father noticed it too, but for 2 years he could not understand the reason, but he did not leave attempts to figure it out. Sasuke was the complete opposite of Naruto. If Naruto was not proud of her origin, then Sasuke showed everything with his appearance that he was better than many. Where he got this from is unclear. He is arrogant, selfish and terribly spoiled, although neither Mikoto nor Fugaku allowed any indulgence in upbringing. They loved children very much, tried to indulge their desires, but in moderation, and at the same time they brought them up strictly. But even with such an upbringing, Sasuke managed to grow up to be an arrogant bastard. He's only 8, and he already has the manners of a spoiled prince. I'm afraid to imagine what will happen when he goes to the academy. I think if Naruto hadn't closed down, she would have been able to change him for the better. Speaking of her, I was so scared when I found her during a mission, covered in blood, barely breathing. And what a shock I felt when I heard her barely pronounce my name. I even forgot about Akira. He quickly transferred Naruto Hiraishi to the hospital, and I had to finish the mission. The second meeting took place a week later. I had a day off, and I decided to take a walk in the woods. But I certainly didn't expect to meet Naruto in one clearing. She was lying under a tree with some fox cub, and was unconscious. I rushed to her to check her condition. It turned out she was just sleeping. With grief in half, I was able to wake her up, asked what she was doing here, not really expecting an answer. The more unexpected it was to receive it. And when I found out that she was him, Naruto Uzumaki, who got into the girl's body by the will of Rikudo, I couldn't stand it. I literally neighed like a horse. It was so unexpected that I couldn't help myself. After inquiring about his plans for the future, he offered to help with training. I also started calling her Tae, and she called me Ikun. And now we have been training for 2 weeks. Of course, I didn't always manage to help, I went on missions, but even so she trained alone. And she already has good results. But this miracle completely forgot to warn me about some of the features of her condition. I was so scared for her. And she is in no hurry to tell me what happened in that world, but I'm not in a hurry. I understand that it takes time. And now, lying under a tree, I was thinking how in such a short period of time, Naruto became so dear to me. No, it's not love, or rather not like that. I fell in love with her like a little sister, but I don't feel more exalted feelings. She has become my best friend, with whom I can share everything, just like her. Perhaps we were so influenced by our past life, we just knew that we definitely would not be lovers. So while thinking, I did not notice how I dozed off that I woke up from the feeling of a familiar chakra. It was Shusui. Carefully removing Kurama's head from his lap, he tried not to wake him up. But most likely he had already noticed someone else's chakra and was not sleeping. I gently stroked his head, as if to say that everything was fine, and went to meet a friend. Hi, Shusui. Hi, Itachi. Do you have a day off today? Will you practice with me? I saw no reason to refuse. Naruto was resting behind a large oak tree on the other side of the landfill, and I put up a light barrier, the only one I can, so we won't bother her. So I immediately took a fighting stance. Shusui understood everything and immediately rushed to attack. We used both taijutsu and ninjutsu. During the fight, we did not notice how 2 hours had passed that we jumped off in different directions and were about to come together again in a melee, when I felt a strong grip on my neck. This little miracle took advantage of the fact that she does not have a chakra and it is impossible to feel it, crept up to my back and hung on my neck. "Ikun, what are you doing here without me? Can we pick up where we left off?" That's the same little beast. She completely ignored Shusui, so she also decided to make fun of me. Itachi, have you become a pedophile? Oh, and what a dirty smile. Phoo, Shusui, to be like that. Shut up, Shusui. Get to know each other better. Naruto Namikaze. Naruto is Uchiha Shusui, my cousin and, concurrently, my best friend. Oh, so that's what you are, a huge disgrace to the Hokage family. I frowned at this characterization. Although I know that he likes to be sarcastic, but you also need to know the measure. And Naruto at least henna. She looked at me with such a look, as if saying, this is a sarcastic misunderstanding and this is the great Shunshin no Shusui? I awkwardly scratched the back of my head and shrugged my shoulders, as if to say, what is? She carefully began to study Shusui, and then gave out something that even I did not expect to hear. Why are you all so attractive, Uchiha? It's already infuriating, she said through gritted teeth. Not really, a trifle. Fell in love with me at first sight, Shusui asked with a malicious smile. What are you, dear? God forbid. I need you like a dog needs a fifth leg. This is how old complexes started talking in me. She even crossed herself, and Shusui fell out in a drop from such an answer and for the first time did not know how to answer. Hey, Tay, have you looked in the mirror for a long time? I asked with a chuckle. And you don't say anything at all, Ikun. You perfectly understood what I was talking about. Looking into her offended eyes, I laughed, and then she picked up my laughter. We probably would have laughed for a long time if Shusui's question hadn't stopped us. Hey, Itachi, what is your relationship? Naruto and I exchanged glances and I just answered we are friends, and Naruto added, don't be jealous, little teacher, no one will replace you as your best friend. I'm just going to push you a little, taking a place in his heart in the role of the best under you guy. She was stretching out the last words. Oh, and Naruto turns out to be quite an ulcer. Shusui is not inferior at all. May bring them together in the future. No, it's better not, the world won't survive two of these, Itachi thought, looking at this bickering couple. If you knew, Itachi, that your words would come true, you would even be afraid to think about it. At the same time, Shusui was trying to find what to say to him. But he was prevented by a noise in the bushes. Everyone immediately looked there, and Kurama came closer to Naruto and even growled softly. It was strange, Ku never growled at anyone. And Shusui jumped aside at this. He did not notice the fox until he came up, and even growls. But that's not the point now. He jumped out of the bushes at us. Sasuke? What is he doing here, Ni-san? He began whimsically, Nii-san, why did you leave me alone? You promised to train me today, Sasuke, you and I trained this morning. Now I want to spend time with friends. Only now Sasuke looked at the people around him. His gaze lingered angrily on Naruto. Brother, why are you hanging out with this one, this empty place? She's a disgrace to our village. Hokage's daughter refused to become a shinobi. She's nobody, there's nothing to waste your time on her, better train me. And with her, if you want to, let Shusui play with her. He looked victoriously at Naruto and grinned. Oh, you little bastard, aren't you taking on too much? Shusui said. You need to learn to keep your mouth shut, and you yourself, Shusui, often follow the words, Sasuke retorted, at least I don't flaunt my position like some people. Oh, you, while these two were bickering, I looked at Naruto. And then he wanted to kill Sasuke. My little sunshine was barely holding back tears. There was so much pain, longing, and sadness in her eyes that I was scared. And her gaze was directed at me. When everyone paid attention to her, she abruptly stormed away. She deftly jumped on Kurama, and they disappeared from our sight, Tye. You see, she's such a coward that she couldn't even answer anything, but just ran away. Let's go train already, shut up, Sasuke. Shusui, look after him. That I took off and ran after them, but they disappeared so quickly that I didn't know where to look for them until I remembered about the clearing in the forest. I quickly ran into that thicket. Running to the place, I saw Naruto sitting on the bank of the river and looking at the water with empty eyes. Kurama wasn't around for some reason. I carefully sat down next to him. Tay, what happened? Did Sasuke's words really hurt you that much? Before I could finish, she immediately attacked me, sobbing bitterly, Ikun, I'm sorry. Forgive me. It's my fault. I couldn't meet your expectations. I couldn't drive away his darkness. I killed him. I killed the one I loved so much with my own hands. I killed Sasuke. Sorry, I sat there and couldn't understand what she was talking about. But then I realized everything. She loved Sasuke in that world and she had to kill him with her own hands. That's why she suffered so much. I began to stroke her head soothingly, saying all sorts of stupid things to distract her. When she calmed down more or less, she told me everything from the beginning. About her childhood, about the first difficult mission, after which she, then he, began to fall in love with Sasuke, how he left, about the war and what happened next. I listened without interrupting, because she poured out her soul. Having spoken, she just fell asleep on my lap, and I pondered her words. How does she feel about Sasuke right now? Will she experience again the pain that she kept in her heart in that world? Okay, I'll ask her when she wakes up. End POV Itachi. I woke up on Itachi's lap. We were still sitting on the riverbank, and he was leaning against a stone and seemed to be dozing. But when he sensed my awakening, he immediately opened his eyes. How are you, Tay? Calmed down already? Yes. It's all good. I'm sorry for this tantrum. It's just that when I saw Sasuke and the way you look at him, I just couldn't contain my emotions. Don't apologize, I understand everything. Listen, Naruto, maybe I'm meddling in my own business, but how do you feel about Sasuke now? I mean, you've loved him for so many years, maybe your feelings have changed. I even thought about it once. But really, how do I feel about this topic? You know, when I got here, I really loved Sasuke and was very afraid of meeting him. But now that I did see him, I realized that I didn't really feel anything. I don't know if it was old man Rikudo who helped by taking away these feelings, or if I just experienced them, but now I feel it. I don't even know how to describe it, maybe lightness, confidence. How should I put it better? I know that this is not the person with whom I would be happy, and my feelings for him will not return. Something that simply does not exist cannot come to life. Do you understand? Besides, the behavior of the local Sasuke does not add to his attractiveness points. Speaking of which, how did he even grow up like this? What am I? I'm not hinting at anything at all, that's not a drop. Yeah, was that a stone in my garden just now? Oh, and how he looks offended, just lovely. I don't even know how it happened. It's just that at some point everyone began to pay attention to him, and he fancied himself a king. No matter how much I tried to besiege his temper, everything is useless. For some reason, he decided that no one was his equal and he stood above everyone. Ikun, don't sulk, of course you're adorable, but I like it better when you smile. He immediately smiled at that. Okay, let's not talk about sad things, we'll sort out Sasuke later somehow, and now we'll go home, it's late. We got up, and Itachi was about to see me off when I stopped him. No, Ikun, you're not coming to see me off. I'm fine, though, I can walk safely by myself. But you should find Sasuke before he does something. Or worse, he didn't get any sarcasm from Shusui. He's had enough of arrogance. Are you sure? Yes. I don't want your brother to resent you because of me. Okay, be careful, it's late. He kissed me on the forehead and disappeared into Shunshin that I walked slowly towards the house. Kurama never came, and I had a great chance to think about everything alone. At first, for some reason, my thoughts concerned Shusui. According to Itachi's stories, Shusui was a very modest and realistic person. He was not proud of his talent and achievements, and when others made mistakes, he was ready to point them out. He had no prejudices, so he stubbornly did not cling to any one ideal and sought to see the unique nature of the current state of things. And that's how such an ulcer could appear from such a person? The question is clearly unanswered. Although, this is a different world, and the people here are different. Take at least the same Sasuke. In that world, he was kind, loving his parents and Itachi, respecting the members of his clan. It was after the destruction of the clan that he became cold, indifferent, somewhat cruel and arrogant. But even then he didn't have that audacity. Here, even as a child, he had a certain narcissism. Although he was a cheerful child, he always wanted all the attention to be his. And with age, it began to manifest itself more strongly. I don't know how Itachi tried to reform him, but only a victory in battle of someone he considered weaker than himself will help here. I know this from my own experience. So while thinking about Sasuke, my thoughts flowed smoothly to my brother. Akira loved his sister very much, but because of his stupidity, he allowed them to distance themselves from each other. And his admiration for his father played an important role. Oddly enough, but he is the only one who did not notice a sharp change in his father. Or rather, not so, he noticed, but did not attach any importance to it, writing off everything on broken hopes. Akira was the most naive in the family, even though he was a genius. In that world, Iruka-sensei became a kind of big brother for me. So now I want to feel what it's like to have a sibling. And to do this, you need to establish contact with Akira, but I rarely see him. Unlike Itachi, for some reason he is at work all the time, we only see each other at breakfast, and then rarely. It seems like he's avoiding me. Maybe you should ask your mom. So while thinking, I didn't notice how I went into a quiet alley. I woke up only when I realized that it was not just quiet, but deserted. And this is despite the fact that there is still number 7. I became alert and began to carefully inspect the area. As soon as I realized that I was in Genjutsu, I immediately felt a prick in my neck. The awakening was not the most rosy. Not only does it look like I've been injected with some kind of poison that I can't let alone move, I can't even say anything. So I can't contact Kurama either. But that's not enough. I woke up in some kind of shed, smelling smoke. I began to try to do at least something, but it went out of the ordinary badly. That is, in general, it's not good. It looks like my captor decided to simply burn me. The fire was getting closer. I was already suffocating from the smoke, when I heard a voice on the verge of consciousness. Hi Cheche, what a pity, you can't move. But you keep resisting. Don't let yourself go. Let despair take hold of you. Come on, break the seal and let the demon loose. Let him run amok and destroy what you hate so much. Come on, you don't want to burn alive. That's right, Kurama. I have to call him. But how to do it if the connection is blocked? Think. Exactly. Oh, and I'll get from Ku for what I want to do, but now I'm not up to it. As the stranger said, I'm not in a hurry to die again yet. Concentrating, I began to concentrate the Kurama chakra, as the only one in free use, in the throat area, blocking the poison and strengthening the vocal cords, and screamed with all my strength Kurama. POV author. Meanwhile, in the Uchi house, Itachi first returned back to the training ground, but finding no one there, he went straight home. Entering the house, he immediately heard Sasuke's indignation. Father, can you imagine, instead of studying with me, he spends time with this idiot. She's worthless, a disgrace to the village, everyone knows she's nothing. How did this idiot even dare to ask Aniki to train her? Tu-san, you should forbid Itachi to study with her, he only wastes his time. It would be better if he taught me. As far as I remember, Sasuke, Itachi was studying with you in the morning, Fugaku calmly replied. And what? He has to spend all the time with me. And I see you're getting more and more cheeky. Shusui decided to get into the dialogue. Itachi decided not to listen anymore and to intervene. When he entered the kitchen, he saw everyone. Mikoto, as always, was cooking something. Shusui, what did he forget here at all? He has a house himself, was drinking seagulls. Fugaku was reading the newspaper and trying to figure out what the eldest son had done that the younger one was tearing up and throwing up. Sasuke himself was winding circles around the kitchen, indignant. In my opinion, it's me who decides whether I'm wasting my time or not, Itachi said a little rudely. He really didn't like that Ototo was talking about his girlfriend like that, even without knowing her. But Aniki, she's useless, besides a recluse and a weakling, what can she be taught? I'm better than her and stronger, I'm already learning elemental techniques, and she doesn't even have a chakra. Now, Sasuke, you are much weaker than Tei. Unlike you, she is much more persistent. And if you continue to behave like this, she will be stronger than you by the time of admission. And about the chakra, you can be strong without it. Think over my words, silly little brother. Hey, Itachi, I've been meaning to ask, why do you call her Tei? With a slight mockery in his voice, Shusui decided to ask, clearly again hinting at their relationship. Because she's the son, Itachi replied simply. Here Fugaku decided to intervene in the conversation. Itachi, the girl you're talking about is, yes, the father, as you thought, is, but he was not allowed to finish by a loud scream that the whole village probably heard. Kurama. Naruto? Itachi, it seems, even turned white from this scream. Fugaku-sama, reporting. An old building has just caught fire on the outskirts of the village. The fire has already engulfed the entire building. It is unknown if anyone is inside, but so far there are no casualties. A detachment has already been sent to eliminate the fire and its consequences. Okay, gather another squad to find out the causes of the fire. Itachi did not listen further, he hurried to the outskirts, because he knew that there was a victim, and it was Naruto. Shusui followed him for some reason. Arriving at the place, they saw a rather strange picture. Konoha police have already arrived at the scene and tried to extinguish the fire with the help of water techniques. But that's exactly what they tried. The fire, despite all attempts to extinguish it, only flared up more, but did not spread to other buildings. As if he was alive. Itachi and Shusui were about to join when the building collapsed. The flames still wouldn't let anyone near the building, wanting to destroy it completely. Itachi was about to spit on the flames and throw them to the wreckage, when a noise was heard from under them. The next moment, a nine-tailed fox, the size of a large dog, jumped out from under the rubble, and Naruto was lying unconscious on his back. At first, the patrol decided that it was an enemy, but Uchiha quickly calmed everyone down, rushing to help this couple. He was very worried about his girlfriend's condition. A quick examination showed that she was not injured, except for a couple of light burns. But she still needs to be taken to the hospital. What Itachi did. End POV author Deja Vu. Just like then, I woke up in the hospital, my whole body hurts again, and to add to this a terrible sore throat, and Ku is sleeping next to me. I think I overdid it after all and almost tore my ligaments. It's good that I used the purified fox chakra, otherwise the consequences would have been worse. Kurama specially purified the chakra to expand my chakra canals. Of course, over time, I will be able to use it not purified, since my chakra has an admixture of demonic, but it's not soon yet. According to our calculations, I won't be able to study the cover for at least a year. Until then, I will strengthen the chakra canals. Looking around the room, I came across an interesting picture. Aniki was sleeping on a chair next to the bed, taking the most uncomfortable position possible. I wanted to call him, but only a weak wheeze escaped from my throat. Okay, so I can't talk properly yet. My fumbling attracted my brother's attention, and he immediately woke up. Naruto? Are you awake? Are you feeling well? Wait, I'll call a doctor. God, he looks like his mom right now, he's going through the same thing. I took his hand, shook my head and smiled weakly, as if to say that everything was fine with me and I didn't need a doctor yet. He calmed down somehow quickly and sat back down, lowering his head. He looked like a naughty puppy, he only lacks drooping ears and a tail. I saw that he was tormented by doubts, he wanted to talk to me, but did not know how. Therefore, sitting comfortably on the bed, she put her hand on his closed ones and gently smiled, encouraging him to start a conversation. Akira was taken aback at first, and then pulling himself together, he began to speak. Naruto, forgive me, that's just like that, he spoke very slowly, obviously choosing the right words. I didn't rush him, continuing to hold his hand, giving him a chance to talk. The day they found you barely alive, I didn't know what to do, I blamed myself for not catching up. And then you said you wouldn't be a shinobi. I must admit, then I was angry with you, I thought that you, on the contrary, would want to become stronger so that this would not happen again. And even your father was disappointed in you, he also wanted you to become stronger, and then such a blow. We didn't know then that your hearth was sealed. And when they found out, my father became even more distant, and I realized what a fool I was when I was offended by you, and decided to fix everything. But it was too late. You shut yourself in, you didn't let any of us in. And then I thought that you yourself would move away and reach out to us again. But as time went on, things only got worse, I made a mistake again, letting everything take its course. But how to fix it? And then that mission to catch criminals, when Itachi found you barely alive at the cliff. I thought that if something happened to you, or you, God forbid, died, would definitely not forgive myself. When I took you to the hospital, I promised myself that I would definitely return our connection, even if my father continues to despise you, I will support you. But again, because of my busy schedule, I couldn't see you and talk to you. And today, returning home, I heard your scream. Even though you were silent for 2 years, I still remember your voice. I immediately rushed there, already smelling the fire. I didn't want to think about anything, but when I arrived at the place, the building had already collapsed, but no one could come closer, the fire was not allowed. Then I thought about the worst, as a fox jumped out from under the wreckage with you on his back. To confess, I immediately decided that it was the culprit of the fire, and I wanted to rush to save you. Although not only I thought so, everyone who was there decided the same. Only Itachi rushed to help you, and I thought that he was just the first to react to the danger. The fox did not even resist, but approached him himself. Then I froze off and rushed to help, bringing you here with Hiration. Akira raised his head and looked at me with such a pleading look, finishing. Naru, please forgive me if you can. I really want us to communicate as before. And squeezed his eyes shut. Therefore, he did not see my further actions, and therefore was taken aback at first that I carefully crept to the edge of the bed and hugged him tightly, whispering softly, I also want to return our old relationship. Thank you for worrying about me, Nii-san. Aniki also hugged me tightly, and then his gaze fell on the bed where Kurama was sleeping. It took him a moment to realize that this was the fox. He was the size of a large dog, and this one was small, like a kitten. Akira patted me on the shoulder. Naruto, who is this? I pulled away and looked in the direction my brother pointed in bewilderment. Kurama was sleeping there. I looked at my brother questioningly, and then realized that only Mom knows about Ku from home, although everyone saw him on the first day. This is Ku, my friend, assistant and faithful companion. He's a ninken. I stroked the sleeping fox cub, and he bit me in response. Well, I didn't like being woken up, so tell me, why bite right away, ay? So the mood in the ward has risen for everyone. They discharged me the next day. Kachan and Nii-san came to pick me up. At home I asked my brother if he wanted to train me, to which he immediately agreed. Besides, he's on vacation. So for the remaining 2 weeks we continued to study together. Why 4 of us? It's just that for some reason Shusui also got involved with us, who also had free days while the team was recovering from the mission. But I didn't pay attention to him. The Uchiha trained mostly together, because all my attention was directed to Nii-san. We quickly found a common language, and now we are happy to train together. Akira showed many new techniques, taught meditation, helped with calligraphy. Although he knew that I could not use the chakra, but all his actions were aimed at improving control. But all good things, as a rule, have properties to end. So our communication with Akira stopped. Not in the sense that we quarreled. It's just that his vacation was a short break before a long-term mission. His team is sent to patrol the borders. So we won't see each other for a year and a half. Mom threw something like a farewell party. And even invited the Uchi family. The meeting went well, except for Sasuke's selfishness, and Shusui's slight sarcasm. At parting, Akira left me a bunch of scrolls so that I wouldn't throw away our training sessions with him. And also my old scrolls with the school curriculum so that I could prepare for admission. The next day Aniki went on a mission, and I started my chakra training. After all, the merger has finally been completed. It's been a year since I got into this world. During this time, almost nothing has changed. I still train with Ikuin and Shusui, although now Kurama also trains me. With him, we study ninjutsu and fan ownership. Only Itachi knows that I have a chakra. I didn't even tell Kachan about it. Speaking of her, everything is strange at home. Akira has not returned from the mission yet. We correspond with him, but rarely. Mom took it upon herself to teach me how to cook. And since I already knew how in that world, although I won't say that I was a straight chef, but I didn't cook very complex dishes well, the training was fast. Now I cooked breakfast very often. Kachan couldn't get enough of it that I was doing so well so quickly. And it's not just about cooking. In calligraphy and taijutsu, which she also taught me, I also made good progress. But with Minato, there are those oddities. He doesn't notice me at all, then humiliates me, then asks how my day went, and sometimes even pats me on the head, like a loving parent, and smiles affectionately. I'm starting to understand what happened to my father in the end, but I won't jump to conclusions yet. I still need to expand my chakra flow to use the right technique. And then I will know for sure that with Tusan Avenue AV. If anyone forgot, Naruto still has a seal on the hearth that controls the output of the chakra. The stronger it becomes, the greater the flow of the chakra. Now she can't stand her old chakra volume. Now I'm back in training. After warming up quickly, she created shadow clones. It was the first technique I learned. With her help, it was easier for me to learn other techniques. And now I have sent some of the clones to train punches, some throws, some more ninjutsu, a few more to meditate, a couple on kenjutsu. And Fuin took care of herself. In general, first of all, I decided to master Fuinjutsu, and learn the minimum necessary ninjutsu so far. Ikuin once asked why I was studying Fuin first, instead of recuperating. Flashback: it happened somewhere in the middle of the second month of our training. Itachi helped me with chakra control. The first week I couldn't use it properly at all. It was a disaster. But I was quickly reassured by Ku. He explained that this is normal, it's all about printing. Due to the fact that I am used to operating with large volumes of chakra, now it is difficult for me to adjust to the meager one. So, in the second week, I was finally able to create shadow clones, but only 10 pieces. Having quickly distributed the tasks, she sat down at the seals herself. Itachi was surprised then. Listen, Tei, why did you decide to do Fuin instead of developing techniques? I don't have much chakra right now to create more clones, but it's enough to study techniques. Now I want to learn a small minimum of techniques. Although, no, not like that. I will learn techniques gradually, raising their level as my strength increases. But it will be done by clones. The more clones there are, the more techniques they will learn. I'm going to study Fuin. I'll explain why now. So, where to start? In general, many underestimate the Fuin masters, what used to be, when there were many great masters, what is now, when there are almost none left. Yes, they are respected, admired, but underestimated. Everyone thinks that Fuin masters are just to seal and blow seal to draw. And the stronger the master, the stronger the technique. In a sense, this is true, but not quite. Fuin art is huge and is divided into two types, calligraphic prints and hand prints. The first, they are also called simply seals, include explosion seals, sealing scrolls, in general, all the Fuin that we draw. By the way, Saya techniques are also a kind of seals, it's just that the original source was lost, and the seal began to be considered a ninpo. The first type is very simple to perform and anyone can master it. In terms of complexity, they go from D to B. Next, the second type is the seals that we fold. As an example, let's take the printing of 8 trigrams, the control seal, binding seals and others. These seals are very complex and can include up to 40 hand seals. But there are also light ones, such as paralyzing seals. This type is divided in complexity from C to SSS+. Also, Fuin masters are divided into 4 classes. Student, the apprentice master, the great master. The first 2 classes can only create seals, and apprentices and hand seals from the class. The other 2 can create hand seals of the highest class up to S, and only great masters can create a seal of SSS classes. By the way, Kachan is a master, and the seal that was installed for me was S+ class, and I have no idea how they were able to install it. Either they had a great master, or they used a ready-made sealed seal. This method of using hand seals was invented a long time ago. As you know, anyone can use seals, but only Uzumaki can create them. Although no, not really. Anyone can create simple D and C class seals, such as blast seals or light barriers. But complex seals are only Uzumaki. This is due to our founder, the demon Kagutsuchi. He gave us knowledge, and the power to create is in our blood. It's something like spiritual energy. When creating a seal, we unconsciously fill them with this very energy, which is the lever for activation. To put it simply, the shinobi pours in his chakra, it activates the energy, and that in turn activates the seal itself. Why am I telling you this? During the war, it was impossible to constantly use the power of Uzumaki. Therefore, the red-haired ones came up with a special sealing scroll, in which complex seals were placed. And so other shinobi could use S-level seals. But this method was very expensive and energy-consuming. In this regard, few such scrolls were made, and now they are not being made at all. Going back to where we started, most likely, those scientists just found such a scroll and experimented on me. There are still barriers. I would classify them as the third type, because they are both manual and with a seal. That's just in all these advantages of Fuin there is one drawback. With all my knowledge, I can't use top-class seals until I become a top master. It is also in the genes, we are obliged to go all the way from a student to a great master. Fortunately, I can handle this in a year that I decided to interrupt my monologue and take a little break. Itachi listened all this time in silence and without interrupting. And he didn't even seem to be breathing. Is it really that interesting? Right now, he decided to take advantage of the hitch to ask, "Listen, Tay, all this is certainly interesting and fascinating, but I don't understand why you are so eager to master Fuin in the first place." "Oh, right, I didn't explain. You see, as I said before, with all my knowledge and Ku's help, it will take me about 5 years to restore my previous level of strength now. Alas, these are also the consequences of those experiments. The chakra canals expand poorly. But there is one seal in Fuin that allows them to expand. This is one of the few medical seals. But she has S-class, so I need to become at least a master. I understand, but now I have another question. If you say that only Uzumaki can create seals, then how could Minato seal the fox in you? This is a very accurate and at the same time funny question. But everything is simple here. As I was able to find out, one of Minato's ancestors was Uzumaki, and part of our power flows in his veins. We talked a little more about the seals, and then we started training. End flashback. Now I am one step away from the great master. I think you can already use the extension seal. I quickly scanned all the barriers around the polygon so that there were no misfires. I have installed restraining and blocking barriers around the perimeter so that the surges of the chakra are not visible from the outside. And for 100M signal, so that there are no unexpected guests. Now you can start. After printing out the special ink that I made from my blood, I applied special symbols to the body and folded a series of seals, activating them. The peculiarity of these inks is that they are completely absorbed into the body and mixed with blood, not allowing you to see which seal was put, and, consequently, to destroy it. I invented them for medical seals, increasing their effectiveness. And now the seal has dissolved in my chakra, not in the blood, because I will treat the chakra canals, immediately restoring and expanding them. When I finished with the seal, I felt someone cross the barrier. Concentrating, I felt Shusui's chakra. We were able to make friends with him after all. Breaking through the wall of his sarcasm, I was able to see what Ikuin admires so much. He is kind, understanding, responsible, adheres to his way, he does not believe any rumors, and he makes up his own opinion. Now I understand why Itachi compared us. We are really similar. After dispelling the clones, I pretended that I was practicing blows. And just in time, Shusui landed nearby. Hi, Naru. He started calling me that when he accepted me as a friend. Hi, Shusui, will you join us? Of course that he took a stand and we sparred. He drove me around the training ground for 3 hours. We didn't even notice how there were 3 of us. Itachi joined us about an hour ago and deftly joined our fight. We practiced for another 2 hours, and then, exhausted, collapsed under a tree. Even 2 ANBU find it difficult to train for so much time. I leaned against the trunk, Itachi settled down next to me and lay down on my shoulder, and Shusui, this impudent cat, this is his call sign in ANBU, settled on my lap. Fortunately for him, I didn't have the strength to throw him off at all, so I just lightly hit him on the head. And then, under the influence of the moment, she began to sing, Natsuhiboshi, Neizakai, Yubkanashii Yum Wamita, Nate Hanashita, Akai Miyonatsuhiboshi, Neiz Mayo, Kita Warashi wa Sagashitaradakra Kanashii Yum wo Miranatsuhiboshi, Neizakai, Yubkanashii Yum Wamita, Nate Hanashita, Akai Miyonatsuhiboshi, Neiz Mayo, while singing, without noticing, fingered Shusui's hair. He was very surprised, because I have never sung in front of him. However, he quickly moved away and got comfortable, enjoying the peculiar caress and beautiful voice. I don't want to admit it, but I feel good with this Uchiha, calmly. Ku in the subconscious only sneers at this, saying something about feelings, without explaining his behavior. That's a flea-ridden rug. Classes at the academy begin today. Now we are standing and listening to the Hokage's welcoming speech. Itachi said that in this world, learning is a little different. If that first day is only a distribution by classes and a small class hour, then there is no distribution as such. At first, they all study together, and then after about a year they are divided into classes, while in each class they try to make an equal number of excellent and double students. And on the first day there is a history lesson. I really don't understand why this is necessary. Oh well, finally, Minato finished his speech, and we went to class. During the speech, I caught disparaging glances at myself. Everyone thought that the daughter of the Hokage would not go to the academy at all. The children also kept up with their parents. They have already signed me up as a loser and, apparently, they are not going to change their mind. Well, I don't give a damn about their opinion, and besides, I'm not going to stay at the academy for a long time. Already now my level is somewhere at the level of Chunin. I learned several techniques of the elements of fire and wind, and began to develop the element of lightning, which I inherited from my father. She also recently started training Rasengan. I've also made good progress in Taijutsu. I can already hold out for about 10 minutes against Itachi and Shusui when they fight in earnest. Mastery of katana and tessen at the master level. Speaking of tessena. As everyone knows, when Kachan gets angry, her hair divides and a frying pan appears in her hands. For me, everything is different. One day, an underachiever, i.e. Sasuke, showed up to train with Ikuin. This little bastard pissed me off so much that I accidentally used Kurama's ki. The elastic bands on the hair could not stand it and broke, and the hair itself was divided into 9 parts. A huge red-colored tessen began to form in his hands. From such pressure Sasuke just fainted. Itachi then corrected his memory. And when I calmed down, there was a reduced token with the uzumaki sign in my hands. Kurama told me that this is a chakra weapon, and I can summon it at any time. Like it or not, I had to train. So also outwardly I began to look 13 years old, not 10, and my hair grew to my knees. Mom says that all Uzumaki girls grow faster, and now, sitting already in the office at the back desk, I was looking out the window, half listening to sensei. I know the whole program thanks to the Nii-san scrolls. And the story is not much different from our world. Except that Madara did not attack the village and was an elder all his life. And Rikudo had no sons, he passed on his power to his students. That's how I sat all day, listening to whispers that I was a bad daughter, a disgrace to the family, a loser, and everything like that. When we were released, I immediately hurried home. I need to talk to Kachan. I'm home, come in, honey, wash your hands and sit down at the table. That I quickly washed my hands and went to help with the cooking. When everything was ready and we sat down at the table, I decided to start a conversation. Kachan, I want to take the genin exam in a week. Can you help me? Kushina looked at me very surprised and thought. I forgot to tell you, Kachan recently found out that my chakra has awakened. Flashback. As usual, my mother and I were engaged in calligraphy. But instead of the usual symbols, Kushina taught me how to draw seals. It was strange to force a person without a chakra to create a seal. Maybe she hoped that the power of Uzumaki's blood would take over and awaken my chakra hearth. And in principle, she did not lose. In the sense that I always had to restrain my strength, and that day I was thinking about training with kurama, and accidentally imbued the seal with chakra. As a result, a small explosion occurred that I had to tell my mom that I had been feeling the chakra in me for some time. And I didn't tell you because I wanted to surprise you. By the way, he was a success, and Kachan was already seriously engaged with me. End flashback. Honey, are you sure? Quite, I'm already at the level of a strong genin, and I passed the whole program thanks to Ikun, Shusui, and my brother's scrolls. And I'm not going to tolerate all these ridicule in my direction. Okay, I'll try to do something, but in the meantime you'll have to go to the academy. Okay, and so a week passed. I attended the academy, listened to ridicule in my direction, grimaced at the Sasuke-kuna fan club, and then ran to the training ground. The day before the exam, my mother said that my name was included in the list of graduates and tomorrow I would have to take the final exam. Yes, it was necessary to see the faces of both students and teachers when I came to take the exam. And if the children were just angry that I, without attending classes, went through the blat, because I looked their age. Then the teachers did not understand at all how the hokage could sign a permit for admission to the exam. And when I was able to pass all the disciplines perfectly, they were shocked at all. Well, of course, because I, the great shame of the family, refused to become a shinobi and did not have a chakra, in the first year without even really starting training, I was able to pass the exam. In terms of genius, I was put above the 3 geniuses of Uchiha Namikaze. But at the request of my mother, they did not spread about it. I'm just a genin who graduated. No one argued with the bloody habanero. So I became a member of Team 5. My partners were Inuzuka Taro and the clanless Takahiro Aki. But the mentor caused a shock. Obito became my mentor. So began my adventures in the role of genin. A year has passed since becoming a genin. In general, this year was quiet, boring, and ordinary. The usual D-rank missions and several C-rank missions, and, of course, the mission to capture Tora. This was our first mission. Since the guys did not trust me yet and, to put it mildly, disliked me, they did not include me in the plan and decided to act independently. Obito decided to see how we would work together for now, but he didn't like what he saw. The teammates didn't think much of it and decided to just pounce on the cat. The plan, of course, is SOSO, but to their credit I will say that they coped pretty quickly. Only 20 minutes of the chase, and Kotika was cornered in some alley. That's just where their happiness ended. Tora sliced them with his sharp claws in a matter of seconds. I even got Obito, who for some reason decided to help. I decided to take pity on the team and help. After all, I know what this cat needs. I just walked past the guys who gave me a malicious look, and approached Kota. He was about to attack me when I just squatted down and gently called him over. At first the cat was taken aback, and then he began to approach slowly. When I was a meter away, he stopped and waited. I immediately understood what was what, and took out of print a pre-prepared yummy, luring the cat. Smelling the delicious aroma, Tora came up to me without fear and began to eat, and after meekly jumped into my arms and began to purr. That's the whole secret, this cat loves petting. As a result, we have 3 wounded guys, a whole me with a purring Tora in my arms, a complete shock to everyone in the residence, including my father, as well as a record for capture, 30 minutes. The previous one was set, it seems, by the Minato team, 1 hour. By the way, after this mission, the guys hated me even more. But, as they say, those who have been knocked out are good. So it is with us, until I beat them up in training, proving at the same time that I don't wear a genin protector for nothing. They didn't recognize me, but in all this routine there were a few funny moments. The capture of the Tora is one of them. The other was connected with my beloved sensei. Oh, yes, Obito scolded on the first day, which, by the way, added another point to the hatred of my team. When sensei was announced to us, at first I was shocked, but then I realized that it was even better for me. Until one fact came to me. Obito doesn't know that I can use the chakra. And while the other teams were leaving, I kept thinking how I could technically dump that I didn't notice how I fell asleep. I woke up to loud curses from Taro and Aki. Not immediately realizing what they were arguing about, I glanced at my watch. I slept for 5 o'clock. Now it's clear why the guys are outraged, and why Kakashi-sensei had such a habit. He just picked it up from Obito, sensei himself, shining like the sun and not paying attention to anything, told us to go up to the roof and disappeared. The guys got even more angry from this behavior and flew out of the office like a bullet. I, who was already used to this, calmly got up and went upstairs. When I arrived, Taro tried to kill sensei, and Aki stopped him safely, from which I concluded that Inuzuka is very hot-tempered, and Takahiro is his personal sedative. Yeah, the team got a lot of sugar, but nothing was redone like that. As soon as they heard the door close, they immediately stopped fighting and gave me a contemptuous look. But Obito ignored it. Now his gaze was completely riveted on me, his emotions were changing at a tremendous speed. First unrecognition, then misunderstanding, fear, panic, happiness and bewilderment, and now I'm trapped in a bear hug. Naruto? What are you doing here? Are you looking for someone or are you lost? The questions followed each other with incredible speed, preventing me from answering until I gagged him with my hand. Obito, are you really stupid or are you pretending? Have you even read the composition of the team? I am the 3rd member of Team 5, but how? You can't use the chakra. All my image in the eyes of my teammates fell even lower, although much more. I looked reproachfully at Obito and, pointing to the protector, said if I got it, then I can. Before I could finish, he grabbed me in his arms and spun me around, laughing happily. I couldn't help but laugh at that, too. Well, +1 point of hating me. Sensei's love. Then there was nothing interesting. We introduced ourselves, and our quiet everyday life with D missions flowed. So a month passed. Itachi and Shusui disappeared on assignments, and we haven't seen each other all this time. Until one day that we were returning from a mission when we were unlucky enough to stumble upon a patrol, where Shusui was. No, I certainly wasn't going to hide the truth from a friend, I just didn't know how to tell. At first I didn't really trust, then by the way I didn't have to. And now he's looking at me and can't believe it's me. And then he breaks into a nasty smile. Well, wow, Naruto, what a meeting. I was wondering why you don't come to training, and you find yourself on missions? I didn't know that. I just giggled nervously at that. After saying something to his guys, Shusui turned to Obito. Obito, are you done for today? If so, will I take Naruto? And after waiting for a slight puzzled nod, he disappeared into Shunshin with me. We arrived at our training ground, and I realized from Shusui's eyes that I was finished. In principle, it was like that. He drove me around the training ground for 5 hours, testing my abilities. He didn't ask me what I could do, but just filled me up with different techniques, depending on how I could avoid them. And I had to use absolutely everything to avoid all of his attacks. By the end of the training, Shusui's shock-angry state was replaced by joyful satisfaction. After that, of course, I told him everything. However, I had to say that I awakened the chakra during meditation about 6 months ago, and I honestly confessed why I didn't speak. Of course, Shusui didn't like it, which made me get a good slap, but then he said that he understood me and was even happy, and just like Obito recently, he began to circle me. Like him, I was happy. And yes, I finally figured out my feelings. I fell in love with Shusui. Kurama made fun of my stupidity for a very long time, but he gave me his blessing, which I was incredibly happy about, but he also said that he would support me in difficult times. And all because I found out that uzumaki love only once in a lifetime. That's why I couldn't fall in love again in that life. And now I understand that I will not be happy. Well, that's why he needs a girl 7 years younger. Therefore, when the time comes, I will let him go, even though it will hurt, I will endure. I will try to be happy, because my beloved will be happy and alive. In the meantime, I'll be happy to have him around. And so my year passed. Today we have a day off, and tomorrow we have a training session, so in the evening we will gather with the guys and discuss strategy. Well, now I'm training as always. Over the past year, I have progressed somewhere to the average jonin. In Fuin, I reached a great master, mastered Raisen Suriken, and honed my katana and Tessen skills even better. Now I'm trying to combine Rasengan with other elements, but so far it's not working out very well. After practicing a little more, Kurama came running after me. He often runs away somewhere, but he does not forget to train me. It was he who taught me the use of a katana and a fan, taught me techniques with their use, like Sasuke used to do with lightning. For me, it was more difficult. If I could still easily use the wind with a katana because of its nature, then it was much more difficult with fire. But even here Ku helped me. He explained that the elements are the same by nature. It was us, the people, who gave them stereotypes. If you can make a blade out of wind, then you can also make a blade out of fire. He taught me how to feel the wind, play with fire, dance with lightning, and also give them different shapes. And he also teaches me to use the elements with only one seal denoting this element, but so far nothing comes out. It's damn difficult and very chakras consuming. After the first attempt, I spent half of my chakra. And we also began to study the cover. To do this, Kurama must completely penetrate the seal, which is why I had to change the seal a little so that the physical body could pass through. But there were problems waiting for us here, too. I can only release 2 tails so far, and in this state I can hold out for at most 5 minutes, with 1 tail more. But when I tried to release the 3rd tail, a sharp pain pierced my body, and I briefly blacked out. Therefore, for now we decided to stop at 2. Now we went home. Recently, Akira sent a letter that he was coming back soon. Mom was so happy that she had already invited Uchiha to dinner when he returned. Although it will only be in about a month. When I got home, I immediately went to the shower to wash off all the dirt. After changing, I went down to the kitchen. I missed lunch safely, so I was going to have something to eat and go to a meeting with the guys. And after that we were going to have dinner together somewhere, taking Obito with us. Someone has to pay for us. Yes, we have become good friends with Taro and Aki and often mock sensei like this, well, or in training, but I was unlucky. Minato was sitting in the kitchen. All the desire to eat was gone, so I just drank some water and got ready to leave, warning Kushina that I would have dinner with friends. But then something happened that no one expected. I was already putting on my shoes when Minato decided to talk to me, or rather even order me. "And where are you going for the night looking? You can solve all your problems tomorrow morning. Go to your room. I can't put it off until tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a training session, so today we are going to discuss strategy with the team," I replied calmly, not paying attention to the tone at all. How could such a brat have a team? I could have come up with a more plausible excuse, and for some reason, it was this arrogant tone that hurt me. I've been patient for a long time, but I'm not going to anymore. Oh, did the great Hokage-sama forget that he personally signed my becoming a genin and assigned me to the team? How dare you talk to your father like that? Minato snapped. I do not consider a father to be a man who spat on his daughter when she needed his support the most. I shouted. But before she could finish, she received a strong slap in the face. My head jerked from a strong blow, and blood started to flow from the corner of my mouth, but I was able to stand on my feet. Minato froze, looking at me dumbfounded, and Kushina was about to help me when a loud growl shook the house. Kurama, unnoticed by anyone and sleeping on my neck, could not tolerate such an appeal to his Jinchuriki, to his other half, meaning the merging of souls. Do not invent anything for yourself. He landed in front of Minato, changing his size in a jump and becoming about waist high, and was about to pounce when he felt a strong embrace on his neck. Thank you, Ku, you always protect me. But it's not worth pulling all the crap into your mouth, I say gently, and I add more quietly, let's get out of here, and she just left the house without even closing the door. I walked without taking apart the road, until at some point I felt moisture on my cheeks. After passing my hand, I realized that these were tears. I cried without noticing it, and the weather matched me. A downpour began. Throwing back my head, I let the raindrops wash away my tears, taking them away. Kurama didn't say anything, he just climbed on my shoulders, wrapping his tails around me and giving his support. So we stood for about 5 minutes until I finally calmed down. Looking around, we realized that we were standing in a clearing in the middle of the forest of death. It was to our advantage. I have already accumulated enough chakras and now I will be able to find out what is happening with my father. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's house. After Naruto left, Minato stood for a while, stupidly staring at the open door until Kushina closed it. She looked at him very sadly and, at the same time, indignantly. Uzumaki was about to yell at her husband when he collapsed to his knees. No, he wasn't crying, but there was so much pain in his eyes that Kushina changed her anger to mercy. Kushina, honey, what's going on with me? Why did I hit my beloved daughter? And why do I not remember at all that she became a genin? And how could she even pass the exam if her hearth is sealed? There's something wrong here, but I don't know what. I'm afraid I'll hurt Naruto even more than I did today. Everything will be fine, Minato, I will definitely do everything to help you. It seems to me that there are bookmarks on you so that you hate Naruto, but I can't find them. And this is very strange, only a great master could put such bookmarks, but they all died during the war. And I'm afraid too, but not for Naruto, but for you. She's strong and she can handle anything, besides, she has a coup, but you've been looking worse and worse lately. And it bothers me. Kushina hugged Minato and they just sat there for a while until they heard singing. It was a very melodious voice, and it seemed very familiar to them, but they could not recognize it because of the song. The song itself was strange, beautiful, but the words were incomprehensible, as if they were being sung in another language, demonic. I quickly found a comfortable tree and climbed it. Taking out the ink from the seal, I drew a special circle seal. And she put another seal on her forehead. So I will be able to understand not only what the seals are on Minato, if they are, of course, but also where they are. Taking a comfortable pose, I concentrated the chakra in my throat and sang. Kieru koto no nai masiji ian ni tsuzuku itsuma demo mu no naka de ikitsukuru dishuchikayata kazuna haitsu kara de ho hanarebaner na no hademo kokoro wa mukashi no mama yurugu koto wa nai dishushinjatita futatabi eru koto wa kono waker ga futari no sadain demo anata wa maki tsuzuketeru watashi ga iru kono sabit wa tokihanat tsutitai katobaki eru koto. No nai masiji ian ni tsuzuku itsuma demo mu no naka da. Ikitsukuru dishuchikayata kazuna hakioku no sun wa nazori nagara q moege tita anata no kage setsuna sa komiajiru nazakinai daho? Nanamo teni tsukanaka tada hitasura maki tsuzukit imesu anata wa mamori tsuzukita watashi ga iru sono sabit wa yukit chikai o katobanari yama nai kono masiji ian ni tsuzuku itsuma demo mu no naka da ikitsukuru dishutsuyoi kono kazuna ha nata janakya imi ga nai watashi dakara kono sabit wa tokihanat sutitai katobaki eru koto. No nai masiji ian ni tsuzuku itsuma demo mu no naka da ikitsukuru dishuchikayata kazuna ha. While I was singing, waves of energy emanated from me, which spread throughout the village, finding everything, even the most hidden seals. These waves are very difficult to feel, almost impossible, and even if they detect me, they will not be able to find me. Thanks to the energy of the forest of death, my chakra is simply lost, and it is impossible to find it. This is the best place to perform this ritual. And finally, finding Minato in the house, I began to scan his body. As I thought, Minato had a seal of control installed on her, and what's the worst is right in her head. This is a very dangerous seal. It was used in ancient times to interrogate dangerous criminals and conspirators. It does not allow you to lie to the one who said it, and at the same time you can put a special task in it, for example, to kill the feudal lord. But this seal is not durable, and it had to be reinstalled. But it was also dangerous. After some time, the seal destroys the mind, and the person becomes a weak-willed puppet. Therefore, this seal was classified as forbidden and was no longer used. And judging by Minato's condition, this is not the first seal, and his mind will not stand another one. And this is bad. But there are also advantages. I know what the seal is on Namikaze, which means that I will be able to save my father. I spent the next few days training in the forest of death. Of course, I understood that my father did not want to beat me and all his actions were dictated by the seal of control. But it still hurt me, and I didn't want to see him. Of course, I sent my mom a message so she wouldn't worry, but I didn't tell her where I was. This place is great for our training sessions with Ku, because the whole forest is saturated with natural energy, which blocks any perception from the outside. The first 2 days passed quietly. Ku still trained me in creating techniques, and I began to get a little better. However, as soon as I form a technique, my clones are fluttering from lack of chakra. But I'm not upset, because Kurama said that at this rate I can learn in a month. And also, to distract myself from sad thoughts, I decided to master a complete fusion with Kurama. This merger does not give any special advantages, just cute ears and tails appear. Well, all 5 senses are also improving, but this is not particularly important, since my 5 senses are improved without it. Thanks to Kurama. When I'm in this mode, all thoughts seem to fade into the background, leaving room for absolute calm. It's like learning Zen. And that's how Itachi found me on the 3rd day. POV Itachi. I've been on a mission for 2 weeks. Although the mission was quite simple, to catch a group of Nukanins in the rank, but very exhausting. Not only did our squad have to hunt down these reptiles in the forest for a whole week, but then, pretty tired, we had to suffer to catch them all. So also, upon returning to the village, I had to write a mission report. And now, I'm finally coming home, dreaming of only one thing, to go to bed as soon as possible. But even these modest dreams were not destined to come true. As soon as I crossed the gates of the Uchi quarter, Obito attacked me, as if he was waiting for me. He told me that he couldn't contact Naruto. 2 days ago, when they were supposed to have a training session, Nara never came. Of course, the Hokage explained later that she overdid it at home training, and they would have to complete the missions together, without her. But when Obito came to visit her, he could not feel her chakra in the house, as well as throughout Konoha. And now he stands and tearfully asks for help to find his beloved student. This behavior of my friend seemed strange to me, so, quickly forgetting about fatigue, I went in search. The matter was complicated by the fact that I was not a censor, and therefore I had to run around the whole village, trying to feel at least an echo of her chakra. But Naruto was neither in the village nor at our training ground. I was already beginning to suspect the worst when I suddenly felt something strange, as if a rope was stretched inside me and calling me somewhere. I do not know what exactly made me succumb to this feeling, but in the end I got to the forest of death. And what was my surprise when I found Naruto calmly meditating in a clearing in the center of the forest, with ears and tails. What? And Naruto, what are you doing here? And what kind of form is this anyway? The last question came out a little hysterical. Opening her eyes, she looked at me a little surprised, and then with joyful cries rushed to hug me. "Ai-kun, I'm so glad to see you. Have you been back long? I'm glad to see you too. I had just returned when Obito attacked me with a request to help me find you. He was very upset, so come on, what happened to you?" We settled down under a big oak tree. I leaned on the trunk, and Naruto lay down on my lap. Listening to her story, I, without ceasing, stroked her ears and tails. It was very calming, and calmness was just necessary for me, because as she told me, I was boiling more and more. As it turned out, the fox fusion form has a calming effect not only on Naruto, but also on others. This is another plus of it, well, or it's just that I'm such a unique person, there's no one else to check on. When Naru finished speaking, I asked, "Teo, what are you going to do with Minato now?" "Nothing yet. The effect of the seal is almost gone and the father is not in danger. And I need to get ready to use that technique. It will still be necessary to choose the right time. I can't just come to the Hokage and openly remove the seal. Why, then they'll just lock me up somewhere with Ibiki and Yamanako, I understand. And also, I wanted to know, when I was looking for you, I felt like something was leading me to this place, as if indicating that you were here. What was that? It was a sensual connection. This is a very old and strong technique, not even quite a technique, namely communication. But it is very difficult to form, it is almost impossible, and therefore they forgot about it. This connection connects you to someone who is very dear to you. Previously, it was used by lovers and family members, and then by best friends. It allows you to track your soulmate wherever she is, and also find out if something terrible happens to her. I formed this connection only once with Tsunade. So, one day, I was able to feel how she, stupidly and drunkenly involved in the battle, was poisoned and severely wounded. I then felt very anxious and, obeying this feeling, went in search. I found her barely alive. After a long search, we found out that this technique is called sensory connection, but there was nothing else about it, neither how nor why it is formed. And now I was able to establish it with you, and now I can always come to your aid. She smiled happily, patting me on the head like a little one, and then settled back on her lap. We talked a little more about everything that had happened to us over the past 2 weeks, and then fell asleep in the same position. End POV. I returned home on the fourth day. My parents didn't say anything, only my mother hugged me tightly, and my father looked sad and went to his office. Just passing by me, he lightly stroked my head. So a week passed without incident, and then Akira returned. Mom threw a feast, even the Uchiha came. Everything was fine, but I had a feeling that something was wrong. I often felt a negative look directed at me, and it came from Anika, as if she was another person. But no matter how much I checked, everything was clean. It was our Akira, still kind and responsive. But there was also such a thing that when my brother and I were talking, I felt this look, and it seemed to come from inside. And so it happened for a month. Until October 10th. All this month, my team and I have been sewing up on missions and recently returned from a mission with a rank. I was so exhausted that I completely forgot about my own birthday. Moreover, Obito did not say anything, but simply sent us home, saying that he would report on the mission himself. So, without suspecting anything, I went home. Already approaching the gate, I began to have a bad feeling. The house was suspiciously quiet. After going all around, I didn't find anyone. Only a note in the kitchen went to Mikoto, "I'll be back soon." And maybe I wouldn't have paid attention to her, but the feeling of anxiety was growing. I don't like this feeling. Therefore, without thinking twice, I called Ku and asked him to enter the press, and then went to the Uchi quarter. When I got to the gate, I was wary. There were no guards at the post, and the alarm bell was growing. But as soon as I crossed the gate, things got even worse. Because of the barrier, nothing could be seen from the outside, but inside, the whole street was covered in blood. I was seized with horror. Did the fate of the Uchi of my world repeat itself in this? No, I won't allow that. The thought struck me that it was good that Ikuin and Sure were on a mission now. But this is not the time to rejoice. Having created a dozen clones, she sent 2 of them for doctors and hokage, and sent the rest to search for survivors and do everything possible so that they could hold out until help arrived. If necessary, I will use the power of the sage, although I still have a little strength, and such a load will greatly affect me, but I just have to do my best. I myself went to the head's mansion to find my mother. I found the Uchiha couple in the living room. Fugaku was badly injured, his chest was cut, but he was still alive. Mikoto was found nearby. She wasn't hurt as badly, but the wounds were also serious. Sasuke had mostly scratches and he was just unconscious. Having created another clone to treat the family of the head, she went to the courtyard. That's where I found Kushina. Mom was all wounded, but I didn't notice any serious injuries. But the scariest thing was that Akira towered over her covered in blood. "Oh, sis, you've finally come. Well, did you like my birthday present, Akira? Why did you do that? Well, how? I already told you that this is my gift to you. And the best thing is that Jinchuriki, who lost control of the fox, will be blamed for the massacre. How wonderful it is. You're not going to make it. The ANBU squad with the Hokage will arrive soon, and the medics will arrive in time, and your whole plan will fail. Ha, naive creature. Who do you think the father will believe, me, his beloved son, or the one whom he has long ceased to consider a daughter? And as for the medics, when they arrive there will be no one to save." And immediately attacked. I had to use all my techniques, but the forces were still not equal. So I decided to use the cover. Akira clearly did not expect this. This has become my advantage. I couldn't use Fuin on it. For some reason, all the seals just disappeared. I couldn't use something like a Baijidama. I don't want to destroy the block, so I had to limit myself to spontaneous techniques. Using a vacuum cube, I was able to catch and immobilize Akira, but at the last moment he was able to free himself, and I can't figure out how. His technique is very similar to Kamui, but it's impossible. And while I was thinking about how I could catch Akira without killing him, Minato appeared. Father. Naruto lost control of the Kyuubi and attacked the Uchiha clan. When I arrived, everyone had already been killed. She even attacked her mother. I tried to stop her, and that's when you came. Minato stood there, not understanding anything. ANBU reported that a girl similar to Naruto reported an attack on the Uchiha clan and simply disappeared, but Akira claims that she attacked Naruto just the same. He sees for himself that his daughter has really lost control and has already released 2 tails, which means Akira is right, and that means ANBU was wrong. Noticing my father's confusion, I simply removed the veil, which made Minato even more confused. And that was enough for Akira. Huh, Minato, you're a fool. No. Kurama, we are releasing the 3rd tail, but there is no time to think, hurry up. Fighting with Akira, I tried to get him away from Mom. And now I see him raising his katana over Kushina's body. The father is confused, he will not have time to do anything. Therefore, it remains only to use the 3rd tail and move, and I will deal with the consequences later. Kurama reluctantly borrowed a chakra, and I released the 3rd tail, moving like lightning to Ka-chan. I simply didn't have time to block the attack, so the katana pierced my stomach. Slowing down further progress with one hand, I fold the lightning seals with the other, sending a weak lightning strike. There is no more strength left for more. Cursing, Akira pulled out his katana and jumped aside, blocking Minato's blow at the same time. Toussaint was trying to find out something from Akira, probably the reasons for his action, but I didn't hear it, trying not to disconnect from the sharp pain that pierced my body after extracting the katana and using the 3rd tail. Ku immediately began to stop the blood and heal the wound, blocking the pain, but it didn't help much. Besides, I was worried about my mom. But I was also worried about Akira. I finally understood what was going on, but I'm afraid my father might do something. Having created a clone so that he began to treat his mother, she moved to the fighting. And just in time, Minato was about to impale his son with a kunai. Of course, the wound would not have been fatal, but the sediment would have remained. Dad, no. I shouted and blocked the blow. Naruto. Minato clearly couldn't figure out what was driving me. But I no longer paid attention to him, switching to Akira. Minato pretty much beat up the guy, and the battle with me did not pass without a trace for him, so he could not stop my further actions. Very quickly drawing a string of Fuin in the air, I locked the 2 of us in the barrier. You can't escape now. You've caused us a lot of pain, but I won't let you do it anymore, Zetsu. I see you've got a body. What? How did you guess? It's impossible. With my last attack, I was able to feel your chakra, I know it too well. Now leave my brother's body. Folding the seals, I enveloped Akira with lightning, paralyzing, but not causing much harm. Having folded a series of complex seals, I said branch seal, activation. A string of Fuin stretched along the zippers, penetrating into the guy's body. And at the same moment, another one separated from his brother's body. It was a dark Zetsu known to us for a long time, only it was not a black slime, but a completely corporeal subject. And the most unpleasant thing was that he was from my world. How did I understand that? According to his chakra, it is identical to that one, and the people of this world have a chakra at least a little bit, but it is different. That's why I didn't recognize Itachi right away. So what now? You've exposed me, but you can't beat me. Your powers are not at that level. You may be right, but you don't have the strength either. Besides, you must have forgotten something. I'm not alone. And nothing else is holding Minato back from killing you, because you not only captured his son's body, but also tried to kill his wife. Not to mention the attempted murder of his best friend's clan. Well, today I will retreat, but know that you won the battle, but not the war, we'll see. After applying some technique, Zetsu simply disappeared into thin air, and I stopped feeling him. Having removed the barrier, I sank to the ground exhausted. The wound makes itself felt, everything is floating before my eyes. Shocked, Minato rushed to check on his son's condition, not forgetting to follow me in disbelief. Namikaze was about to ask something, but a shout prevented him. Naruto, my clone, was screaming that he was treating Kushina. Forgetting about everything, I moved to them as quickly as possible. The clone immediately dissipated, sharing the information I needed. By the way, the rest of the clones also scattered, reporting that almost all the Uchiha survived, holding out until the arrival of the medics. After analyzing the information, I realized what alerted the clones so much. Kushina was pregnant, but because of these events, the fetus was dying, and in order to save it, the forces of the sage and kurama are needed. And Uzumaki herself was not in the best condition. Please direct your chakra into mom's body, button, I haven't finished your treatment. If I stop now, you'll bleed out. I don't care if we don't, they could both die. You are welcome. Kurama didn't say anything to that, only I felt his chakra pass through my hands. Keeping up with my friend, I activated the sage mode. It was dangerous, because my chakra was already at 0, so this body was not yet prepared for this power. But now I didn't care much about it. My body was enveloped in golden light, and my body was Ka-chan, the chakra of Kurama. The last thing I remember is the medics running towards us. I came to myself very hard. Consciousness did not want to return to the body at all. His eyes felt like lead, and his body seemed to be pierced by thousands of needles. Through the fog, I heard quiet voices. It was difficult to make out what they were talking about. Hokage-sama, I do not know what kind of technique Naruto used, but it is truly a miracle. She was not only able to keep the Uchiha alive, but also to save them both. Both of them? Didn't you know, Minato-sama? Kushina-san is pregnant. From what I could make out, I realized that I was in the same room with my mother, and now the doctor is telling the situation. They discussed something for a while, and then the doctor left, and I felt like I was taken by the hand. The pain had already receded a little, and I was able to open my eyes. Naruto, my dear daughter, how could I allow such a thing that my family fell apart? What should I do if for all my misdeeds, you hated me? Pa, I called very weakly. Honey, I'm so glad you're okay. You scared me a lot when you fell unconscious. Sorry. Forgive me if you can. I've done so many bad things to you, and even dared to hit you. I know you may not believe me, but I never wanted to hurt you, and all those events did not happen by my will. Sorry. Dad, I know you've never meant me any harm, and I'm not mad at you at all. I love you. Naruto, thank you. You need to recover, rest. After his words, he hugged me tightly, but I still managed to notice a couple of tears rolling down my cheek. This conversation exhausted me, and following the advice of Tu-san, I fell asleep. I slept like that for 2 days, only occasionally waking up. Still, using the third tail, and then also the sage mode was not my best idea. So also Ku does not stop lecturing me, calling me a dumbass, then an idiot. Mom still hadn't regained consciousness, and Minato came a couple more times. On the third day, I was able to recover my strength by half, and Kurama helped with the wounds. But everything can't be rosy, and now a seal has lit up on my hand. I installed this seal on Minato just in case someone decides to reinstall the seal. Apparently this case has come. Ku, please stay with Mom. After meeting with Zetsu, I suspect that he is behind all this. And he might try to kill Ka-chan. Okay, run. I jumped out of the window right in my shirt. There was no time to change, the ritual had begun, and I still need to get to the residence. It's also good that all the important objects are located in the center of the village. Running along the roofs, I was thinking how best to get inside. Going into the open is not an option. I do not know who is behind this and how many of them. Although I have one idea who it might be. You can try to surround the building with a barrier. So at least it will be possible to avoid reinforcements from their side. I think this option is preferable, although a barrier of this scale will take away a quarter of my strength, and there are so few of them. When I got close to the building, I scanned it for people. Oddly enough, there was no one in the residence, except for the hokage and 6 other people. All of them were in the office, so it is most likely that there are violators. As I expected, the main acting character is Danzo, so the rest must be from the root. According to Minato's print reaction, Shimura has already started installing bookmarks, which means it's time for me to act too. Having installed the barrier, I quickly move into the office and, using the effect of surprise, gather all the roots in one pile with the help of the wind, and enclose them in the barrier. With a well-aimed kick, I send Danzo to the other end of the office. Using a vacuum cube, I launch it into the barrier, depriving the Anbushnikov of air. All the guys are out, the easy part is over. Now I have to deal with Shimura somehow. Having created 5 clones, I left them to deal with Danzo, and I check my father's condition myself. Everything is bad, the seal is installed, which means the bookmarks are activated, and he hates me again. But there is also good news, the seal has not been fixed, which means Minato's consciousness has not been destroyed, and it is possible to reach him. I'll play on that, Dad, you can hear me. Don't give in to Danzo. You are stronger than this, break the bookmarks in your subconscious. Get out. A nonentity like you, not only does not dare to be in my office, but also to talk to me. Namikaze throws me aside. From hitting the wall, I feel like the wound on my stomach that has not healed opens again. I take back my words, everything is bad. Minato hears me, but his will is greatly suppressed, which means he will not be able to cope with the seal on his own. Well, I'll have to do everything myself. But I'm not lucky here either. Apparently, Danzo added another bookmark, and now my father began to attack me. Dodging his blows, I try to guess the time and put a paralyzing seal. I don't want to spend a lot of chakra fighting with my father, and I don't want to hurt him in any way. Meanwhile, the clones were trying to stop Danzo. But even the 5 of them were not Shimura's rivals. That's just there was something strange in the behavior of the head of the root. Having scattered the clones, he was in no hurry to attack in response, and he did not dispel the clones. Rather, he was just repelling attacks. So one thought crept into my mind. After folding the seals, I used a binding fuin, but it just disappeared. As I thought, from the very beginning it was not Danzo who was in charge of everything, but Zetsu. But after my victory over his main body, the part in Shimura's body weakened, and gradually he began to regain control. That's why he doesn't attack back, because Danzo himself doesn't want it. There was only one way out, to use the same seal as on Akira. And while one clone was folding the lightning seals, the other used the seal. Just like that time, after the separation, Danzo lost consciousness, and instead of a body there was a black substance, like in that world, which I decided to burn with a flame. In order to avoid, so to speak. Of course, I may regret it later, but now I need to save my father. Having managed to paralyze Minato after all, I wearily kneel down next to her. Still, running away from the very 4th Hokage is not an easy task, but there is no time to rest, it's time to get started. I take out a bowl with a brush and a kunai from the seal, and make a small incision for myself and Minato. I collect our blood in a bowl and mix it. With this blood I put seals on our hands and face. Having folded a row of seals, she leaned her forehead against his. POV author. Once in her father's subconscious, Naruto saw her father fighting with something resembling tentacles. So this is what a live print looks like. Creepy. Quickly letting Fuin on the floor, Uzumaki protects them from each other. Naruto? To say that Minato is surprised to see his daughter in his subconscious is to say nothing. I'll explain everything later, Dad. Just don't try to help me, you'll only get in my way here. And without giving him anything to answer, he rushes forward. Song of Destruction. Najiki de keshitetshimi mebaru nigai no oto wa sukuwara mano wa naizetsubu dake ga sukue nara shinawarada hikari wa mautera sanae a terasanai nanimo kamo ga mabaroshi naraba sabit saru nomi zero ni kiru sekai no shinri yonanimo kamo ga unmiai naraba sabit saru nomi hitatsu tari to nokuranu sekai himichibikaru tame umarita inochi. A melodious voice echoed throughout the subconscious. Minato was surprised that his daughter had such a charming voice, but he was even more surprised by Naruto's actions. The tentacles of the seal did not want to give up so easily at the mercy of the winner, they struck more and more fiercely and more crushingly. But Naruto didn't seem to notice them. Taking the kunai out of her pouch, she danced, dodged all attacks, moving towards the center of the seal. Sabit kita auto ni watarimo shiranu sekai no kodu animachibikarit mata umaru inochi. Here are the last words of the song. Kunai embraces a bright red glow, and Naruto pierces the seal. Destruction. After the seal disappears, Minato loses consciousness. He woke up on the floor of his office, lying on the lap of a very tired daughter. The first thing he did was, of course, hugged his daughter tightly, because he had wanted this for 3 years. What did you do? I just broke the seal. This answer alerted Namikaze a little, because even Kushina could not do anything. And after examining the destroyed office, he frowned even more. The 5 members of the root and the village elder lying unconscious did not inspire confidence. Minato remembered that it was Danzo who set the seal for him, which means he needs to be interrogated. But Shimura did not wear the title of the head of the root for nothing. It was not so easy to defeat him, and even in the presence of his subordinates. Then how did his weak Naruto manage it? He looked seriously into her eyes and asked, "Who are you and how do you know all these techniques?" Uzumaki looked at him sadly, not daring to answer anything, and then, apparently having decided something for herself, she barely said, "Not now, when the whole family returns home, I'll tell you everything." And lost consciousness. End POV. The moment of revelation was postponed for a week. First of all, Mom needed to recover after all the experiences. That day, the ward was still attacked, but it was not difficult for Kurama to fight back. Only Kushina, who woke up at the wrong time, experienced a considerable shock when she found Kyubi no Yoko himself in the ward, although slightly reduced to the size of the ward, scattering the members of the root. Secondly, Akira was also in no hurry to recover, waking up only on the 6th day after all the events. Well, thirdly, I had to heal the wound on my stomach again and restore a completely depleted SCC. And also get a slap on the neck from Kurama. In general, he was ready to send me to my forefathers for such a disregard for his care. And he didn't give a damn that he would have gone with me anyway. But now the X-day has arrived. The entire Namikaze Uzumaki family was sent home. After dinner, Tusen asked us all to gather in the living room. Ka-chan and Aniki were excited by Minato's behavior, because no one told them what happened that day at the residence. "Naruto, you remember our conversation. I hope you'll tell us everything," and I told him. Absolutely everything. Starting from who I am and from where, and ending with how their own daughter died. When I finished, Kushina was crying, Minato looked at me with shock, simultaneously calming his wife, and Akira just looked at me in disbelief. Well, I was counting on such a reaction. I got up quietly and left the house, and so I wander in the direction of Mount Hokage. This place has always helped me calm down. Don't you regret telling them the truth? No, I was planning to tell them anyway. It's better to let it be now, while I can still leave more or less painlessly. You're a stupid child, it seems like you've lived enough, but you still don't understand some feelings. You have those who won't let go, I know, and it hurts more. While talking with Kurama, I didn't notice how I came to the mountain. Sitting on the head of the fourth, she began to admire the village, not noticing how tears were flowing from her eyes. Naru? Everything okay? What are you doing here? A worried voice sounded from behind. Turning around, I saw Shusui through a veil of tears. Quickly wiping her tears, so as not to embarrass herself even more in front of her beloved, she smiled tightly. Sure, it's okay, I'm just admiring the village. I like to watch the sunset here. Yes, I love him too. But it's not good to lie. I can see that everything is not in order. Admit it, what happened? Everything is really fine, it's just, unexpectedly for myself, I burst into tears. Still, in front of Shusui, I couldn't hold back the mask of calm. They won't forgive me. They won't be able to forgive what I did. I took her place and continued to live her life. I should have died, not her. Naruto, calm down. I don't understand what you're talking about. Can you tell me first? And I snapped. I was crying out loud, not noticing that I was telling Shusui the story of my life. Even when I lost my voice, I kept talking. Only when the hysteria stopped, I realized that I had blurted everything out to an outsider, albeit a loved one. Now you probably despise me, too. I'm a guy who became a girl, and even fell in love with a guy. You should be disgusted. I'm deceiving everyone around me. I don't want to pin my feelings on you. I'm sorry and goodbye. I stood up and, without looking at Shusui, took off. I didn't want to see an expression of detachment and contempt on my beloved face. But they didn't let me get far. Shusui immediately grabbed my hand and turned me around and kissed me. My little silly, I don't care if you're a guy or a girl, from this world or not. I love you. Not your body, but your soul. And we, Uchiha, love once and forever. That's why I won't let you leave. I'll get you out of the ground. That I couldn't believe my ears. My love is mutual. And he doesn't reject me after hearing that. I was happy. I love you too. And he kissed me again. We were returning after midnight. Sure didn't want to let me go alone, and even offered to talk to my parents, but I refused. He has already given me the strength to withstand any decision they make. Going home, I found the family still there in the living room, and without letting them say a word, I started first. Thank you for everything you have done for me. I didn't expect to feel what it's like when you have a real family. In order not to burden you, I will pack my things, and the strong hugs of 3 pairs of hands did not let me finish. Stupid child, whoever you are, you're still our child. In that world, you were deprived of parental love, but you were given a second chance. So let us fill this gap in your life. Looking into the eyes of my family, I did not see the expected disgust or contempt. There was only love, well, tears. Not expecting this, I burst into tears again. Thank you. Thank you, you are the best family that can be. A couple of days later I was called to the Hokage. It was weird, Dad didn't tell me anything. Arriving at the place, I knocked a little hesitantly. Come in. Hearing my father's calm voice, I took a deep breath and entered. The office was full of people. Papa, Obito, Fugaku, elders, and Danzo. As it turned out, the local Danzo is actually not such a goat. He was quite a good old man, concerned about the welfare of the village. He, along with Hiruzen, taught my father. But because of Zetsu's influence, he became like a schmuck from my world. After the trial, all charges against Shimura were dropped, and he was reinstated. Although he tried to fight back with all his might. But who will let such a valuable frame retire? Fugaku was the first to begin, bowing in a bow. Naruto, accept my sincere thanks. Not only did you save my clan from destruction, but you almost pulled me out of the next world. All Uchiha owe you an irreplaceable debt. Please raise your head, Fugaku-san. I did what I had to do. And I don't think you have to. You and Mikoto-san are Ikuen's parents and my parents' best friends, you're like family to me. And that means your clan too. And I don't intend to lose my family, thank you, Naruto. Fugaku came up to me and hugged me tightly, and I hugged back. Minato interrupted us. Okay, and now let's move on to the question of why I called you. Namikaze Naruto, considering your services to the village, as well as the level of your skill, from this day on you are appointed Konoha's Jonin. We will conduct the written exam retroactively. And also you join the ANBU squad. Raven. The cat, 2 ANBU landed behind me. Of course, it wasn't difficult for me to recognize them. Listen, Hokage-sama. Naruto, and you too, from now on you are a special team of the ANBU, controlled by me personally. From now on, Naruto, your nickname is the Fox, that's the end of it.